Attention!
It should be attention like that, and then we'll hear the popcorn sound.
Oh,
So it'll be
yeah.
like the.
Oh, I'm gonna have a whole intro. Yeah.
There you go. I love that.
We were just talking, me and Chuck, and I told him I don't have time to pull clips for this one. It's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have a kick-ass intro for it.
Oh hell yeah! I love that. That's amazing. This is episode 3 of Popcorn Kernels.
Third
right?
Popcorn Kernels.
Yeah, and by the way, just putting it out there, we need some artwork for the show, right?
Oh yeah.
So if anyone wants to do any artwork and submit it, how do they want to submit it to us? I mean, I have funbearablepod@gmail.com.
You can send it there or reviewinghistorypod@gmail.com.
Either email address, send it to us, and we'll make a Popcorn Kernels email address
Why
too.
not?
Why
Yeah.
not? Of course. But we'd love some artwork. But yeah, we're doing our 3rd episode. If you don't know about Popcorn Kernels, it's me, Chuck from Funbearable.
Brian Ruppert from Reviewing History, which is the feed you're listening to this on.
Yes, and what we're going to do is we switch back and forth. So episode 1 was on the Reviewing History feed. Episode 2 was on the Funbearable feed. Episode 3 is back on Reviewing History, and then episode 4 will be on Funbearable.
And
so
we've already spoken about episode 4, and I can't fucking wait.
I can't wait about episode 4 either. I can't wait. But yeah, subscribe to both feeds to get all the episodes of Popcorn Kernels. And I wanted to say real quick, if you're in the New England area, Funbearable's doing a live Halloween show this Sunday, October 20th at Kismet Improv in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. It's going to be really fun. We've done, I think we've done 4 live Halloween shows over the past few years with myself, Brad, and Ray, the host of Funbearable. But this is technically the first Funbearable official live show.
Because it was always like Chuck and Brad presents. Right?
Yeah, it was the old podcast. The Chuck and Brad podcast predated Funbearable. But Ray was on all those shows. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're in the New England area, come on out, funbearablepod.com for tickets and info. It's going to be, I think, at 7:30, and it's going to be a very fun time. We have a lot of kooky stuff planned. It's going to be really,
he was
really
telling
good.
me some of the plans. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, it's going to be good stuff. But yeah, and today we're going to talk about some Halloween.
I think everything is kind of horror adjacent.
Horror, at least horror, mostly horror, and then horror adjacent. I mean, we can tell them.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Trap, Beetlejuice, Joker 2.
Yep, that's the horror adjacent.
Yeah.
It's dark. It's creepy.
A Joker is like Halloween at this point.
I think so.
He's a traditional costume.
And they planned the releases to be in October,
exactly.
So
And the 4th movie we're going to talk about is The Substance.
The Substance.
You
keep calling it The Substance.
Do I keep? Yeah, I don't know why.
I think you put a Facebook post about it.
And I called it The Substance.
Yeah.
I don't know. In my head, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, The Substance, which I didn't hear about until Ruppert, was like, let's go see this movie. And I was like, okay.
We did a double feature.
Yeah, oh, it was fucking awesome. I loved it. But we're going to do all spoiler free. And so even if you haven't seen any of these movies and you don't want to get them spoiled, that's okay. You can listen to our spoiler free talk. And we're going to give you a big warning before we go spoilers for all 4 movies.
So we'll start with Trap.
Let's start with Trap because it's
the least fresh in my mind.
Yeah,
too.
chronologically, it makes sense. Yeah, Trap it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie with Josh Hartnett as the main character. And the trailer portrayed him as a dad with his daughter at a pop star concert.
A Taylor Swift concert.
A Taylor Swift, it's basically a Taylor Swift clone concert. A person that's like that. And in the trailer, what you get from it is that there's a ton of police presence, and he's like, hey, why are there so many police here? And one of the people that works at the venue says they're going to catch this killer. They know that he's here at this concert. And so they're here to track him down. And in the trailer, you find out that Josh Hartnett is the killer that they're looking for. And that's all you get from the trailer.
Yeah, that's the only thing in the trailer.
So I think
we can't talk too much about where it goes.
Yeah,
right?
we'll talk about spoiler. We'll do spoiler free for now. Just in general, I was like, you know what? This was a fun movie to see. It was a fun afternoon at the theater.
I liked it a lot. I know a lot of people were cold on it, but I kind of just enjoyed this cat and mouse game that was happening. And like Josh Hartnett's one of those guys, he's not around that much, but whenever he shows up in something, you're like, hey, all right, Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett rules. I love him. I've always loved him since I loved
The Faculty.
I honestly don't remember The Faculty. I do remember liking it in high school, but I loved 40 Days and 40 Nights.
Okay.
And then he was in something else I love 30 Days of Night.
Lucky Number 11.
Lucky Number 11, that's what it was.
Yep.
Those 3. And I always liked him. I've been having this talk with my buddy Brad, who's on Funbearable as well. I miss novella movies. And here's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
It's a movie that is super self-contained. A perfect example is They Live.
Okay. I know what you're going to say.
No name for the protagonist. We don't know where he came from. We don't know what his wants and needs are, which is very strange for a protagonist of a movie. But he comes into this world and They Live. He starts construction. He stumbles across these X-ray glasses that allow him to see the aliens have taken over the world. And his mission becomes, I got to let everybody know about this. And that's it. It's just one story. And I feel like
now they'd be building the They Live universe.
now, well, yeah, not only that, but it's like, I'm happy not knowing his name. I'm happy not knowing where he came from. We don't need it for the purposes of this story.
The Man with No Name is another one. You don't need his name.
Yeah. And you don't need, sometimes you don't even need the growth and the change. So, and because he doesn't, he's just a guy.
I mean, he does have an arc though. Cause he starts as like a bum drifter and then he has this greater purpose by the end. There is an arc.
I will say the feeling that I get from They Live is that he always just takes odd jobs. Right.
Yeah, I guess I always viewed him as a homeless guy.
I know he does seem like that.
That's how I always took it.
But nevertheless,
regardless.
I like the idea of movies that, and The Substance is a perfect example of a novella movie either, where it's like, we just want to tell the story. We don't need a ton of backstory. It can just live in this world. And I think that is probably a great place for film to live. You know what I mean? I think it's a really fun thing. And I think we've really fallen away from that. I don't know why.
Well, I think a large part of it is money making. Right. Mm-hmm. So the studios, every time they take one of these risks, they're like, how can we make back, let's say 5 times the amount of the budget? Right. That's probably the goal of what they're trying to do is like a 5X. So
I think it's like for smaller movies now, I think it's like a 2X or a 3X.
Well, so typically, like, let's say a movie costs $3 million. They need to make, I think it's $9 million to break even after production and theater cuts and all that, right?
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying 5X to be profitable.
I see what you mean, because we're incorporating not only the budget but the advertising.
Exactly.
The
full cost to put the movie out. So,
I get it. Yeah.
So to me, they're looking at it like, okay, what is going to generate us our money, not just making it back, but profitable, right?
Right.
So you do a movie like The Conjuring. And it's like, okay, Conjuring is a hit and it does a lot of money. But then you have 18 other Conjuring spinoffs, which have all made that. And now you have an almost $1 billion franchise.
I agree. But I think even the type of like the novella movie that I'm talking about that's really self-contained, and I think Trap falls into this. I think even if they're like, we're just going to make one, we're not going to serialize this. Even if that's the plan, there's still... it's different than it used to be in terms of like, let's put more story at the front. Let's put this. It's almost like, you know, how there's like a lot of books about filmmaking and screenwriting and stuff. And I think that some of that stuff can go out the window if you're telling a story by someone who's like an auteur.
You can be more experimental and do things like that.
And it's weird because it's experimental in a minimalist way. So something like They Live or Trap to me feels like I like the idea of just, this is just like a fun night that you watch a movie and it's like, where's the story going to go? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And that's it.
Well, I'm a movie over TV guy. Like everyone will be like, have you seen this show? Have you seen this show?
Yeah.
And I'm always like, not really. Like there's a couple of shows I watch here and there, but it's very rare. To me, it's like, I like a movie. I put it on. I get my story in hopefully an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's done. And then I could move on to the next one. I could get a whole new world, a whole new story.
Yeah.
So it's like.
So that fits into what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's better. But I think looking at it from the corporate point of view, who's funding everything, they're less likely to do those things. And even now what they'll do is it's rare where if it's not horror, it's going to get a theatrical release.
Yeah.
And they're going to take that and slap it on streaming.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's funny because there is a way to look at it where it's a little bit safer for studios, though, because let's say you are going to hedge your bets and say, maybe this is going to be the next big thing. The less you put in, the more there is to flesh out. Like if you're like making, for example, They Live.
Well, I think John Wick is a great example.
John Wick is a great example. Yeah, you're right. That is.
Because that movie, if you think about it, is so bare bones and so simple.
Yeah.
Kill man's dog. Man gets revenge.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, because they added these little weird elements with the hotel and all these assassins, now they have a giant franchise.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that like if you do Roddy Piper in They Live and you're like, he's this guy, this is his bitch of a wife, this is this, then you're tying it down. But if you do the version they made and you don't know where he's from, then when you want to do the next one, you're like, oh, the world's our oyster. We can do whatever we want. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Trap is a novella movie.
Yeah, I
It's self-contained. It's just like it all takes place.
There's no connected universe.
I'd say the movie takes place within less than 12 hours.
I like that. Look, I made a movie. It sucks, but I like a self-contained thing where it's characters are in a situation for a limited amount of time with a ticking clock.
Yeah.
A Die Hard, you know.
Yeah.
Devil, which is another M. Night movie. Like,
yeah.
I like characters stuck in one place, and then I think it's a challenge for a filmmaker.
Yeah.
How do you make this interesting and good?
That's where Saw came from.
Yeah,
we're gonna start with two characters in a room. What's the story to make it interesting? Yeah, no, I agree, and I it's weird because like it definitely is not gonna hit my favorites of the year list or like the best, but like I really enjoyed it.
I had fun with it.
It went to places I didn't expect.
Oh, definitely.
And I thought it was fun. I think I gotta say, I think without Hartnett, I think it'd be a tough sell. I think that he does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the character that he plays.
He has a great thinking man's face because his eyes are already kind of squinty and focused.
Yes.
Where it always kind of looks like he's like thinking about stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's thinking real hard.
You believe him as the great dad and the secret serial killer.
Yeah.
So I'd say Trap, it's funny because like I was gonna say if you like horror, not even remotely a horror movie. It's a thriller. There's no gore. There's nothing like that.
It's very Hitchcockian.
Yes.
Where it's like, you know, here's a situation. I'm like, M. Night's going to direct the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's going to have good camera placement and a lot of good movement and blocking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be creative in that regard.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a tight story.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
I think we're not going to talk about the spoiler, but I think the third act gets a little messy and sloppy. And I think it keeps trying too hard rather than being in and out and tight.
Yeah.
And I think that was its undoing a little bit.
Yeah. And I think we'll talk about that more at the spoiler full zone.
Yeah.
I consider this spoiler free.
Yeah.
Later on, it's going to be spoiler full. But I agree with you. I think that they had an idea of where they wanted to go, but they didn't figure out the great path exactly on how that's going to go. Although there were great moments along the way, for sure.
It's a fun ride.
Yeah, so I'd say if you like a small thriller, and if you're like turned off to horror movies and gore and blood, but you want something kind of like spooky and fun, hell yeah, dude. Trap was fun. Let's talk Beetlejuice because I know you didn't like Beetlejuice.
I did not like Beetlejuice. Where are you at with the first Beetlejuice?
All right, so I really appreciate the first Beetlejuice. I think that the character in the world is awesome. I mean, it's weird because you really have to appreciate Tim Burton in the late 80s, early 90s. It's his
second movie.
Right. And it's like, I mean, I appreciate Batman 89. Batman Returns is my Burton Batman. Okay. I fucking love it. I think that the atmosphere is insane. I think it's one of the best comic book movies. I love Max Schreck. I think Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman couldn't have been better. I think Danny DeVito couldn't have been better. The Triangle Circus Gang, all that even the way Gotham is so weird.
The Christmas theme.
It's so good. And then, of course, Nightmare Before Christmas, which he, produced, and I think he came up with the concept for.
Yeah, because Jack Skellington is in, I believe, Beetlejuice. He has like a little cameo at one point. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, he's in, I believe, like the background of like one shot in Beetlejuice.
Wow.
Which I know I said I wasn't going to pull clips up, but I'm going to pull that up if I can find it.
Yeah. And I know that Tim Burton came up with the concept, and he also wrote a story. But then I think Henry Selick was the director or something. But he did Beetlejuice.
Don't say it again because
Get 'Em will come in. And then of course he did Frankenweenie at the time, the live action Frankenweenie, which predates the computer one.
I think that was like his big short, which got him hired by Disney, I believe.
Yeah,
because he was an animator.
Yeah, exactly. And Edward Scissorhands. So like I really respect the fuck out of that Tim Burton stuff. I think Beetlejuice rules. I think Keaton rules as Beetlejuice. I think the idea of the ghosts in the house that want to get the people out and they have to call the
bioexorcist
is so good. It's fucking amazing in terms of like conceptually, because there's nothing I love more than like an original idea And it's for sure an original idea.
And that's what the 80s and 90s gave us.
Gremlins, baby.
Yeah.
But I love that. And without getting into spoilers for Beetlejuice, here's my issue. And I think you're going to feel similar.
Did you like it? That's not a yes.
I'm having a huge conversation, and it's a popcorn kernels conversation with my buddy Ray from Funbearable. Are there any decades later sequels that are actually good? Maverick is the one we pulled out, and the other one I think is Halloween 2018. However, Halloween breaks the rules because they kept making them consistently.
I know what
and
you're
they changed it, and one of the main characters is behind a mask and doesn't age. You know what I mean? But I will say in Halloween 2018's defense, Laurie Strode, it's legit a decades later sequel to her character in 1978.
I love that Halloween reboot.
I think that one is fucking excellent. But Top Gun Maverick is the only one we could think of that was good.
I really like Rocky Balboa, the sixth Rocky.
You know what? So funny. So I haven't watched the Rocky movies, including that, and I brought that up on the phone when Ray and I were talking about it, and I was like, I think that one's pretty well regarded as like a great movie, and so that's another one. But for like 95% of them,
it's hard.
It's really difficult. And the people that are making them, like Rocky Balboa, I think probably succeeded because they really flipped the script on what the story is. Rocky becomes the coach for Creed, right?
No, that's Creed.
Oh, really?
Rocky Balboa is the sixth Rocky movie.
Oh, okay.
So Rocky 5 came out, I think, like 91 or 92. I don't know. It's either way, it's a fucking awful movie. It's terrible. And then Rocky goes away. And in 2006, there was this wave of Rocky nostalgia which happened.
Yeah.
And I got caught up in it. Like I saw it for the first time a little earlier, like maybe like 2000. So, but by 2005, there's a Rocky video game for GameCube and PS2 and all that. And then they do Rocky 6. They call it Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
And it was a great end to the Rocky saga. And then they continued it with Creed.
I think you're right. I mean, it's not I think you're right. I know you're right. And I'm thinking now that I do remember when Rocky Balboa came out, everyone was kind of shocked at how good it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great example. But like with Beetlejuice, and we'll get more into it in the spoiler full, all they cared about was as cliche as it is, the member berry stuff.
Yeah.
And they introduced new things, right? But they handled all those new things like they didn't give a fuck about it.
They were scared.
They were like, these don't matter at all. We don't care. It was crazy.
So sloppy. Like that's my issue. Like I love the first Beetlejuice. It's a seminal movie in my life. Like as a little kid, I watched it. Like maybe I'm 2 or 3, and my parents got me the NES Beetlejuice game.
Yeah.
I remember the Beetlejuice cartoon.
Yeah.
And my mother got me a replica Beetlejuice mask that I used to walk around Brooklyn with. And it had a pump, and you could lift it, and like the snakes on the head would pop out.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like a little kid, and I'd walk around dressed like Beetlejuice, or like wearing my clothes with a Beetlejuice mask. And my mother's like, I have to walk around Brooklyn with my son like this. This is what he likes to do. And strangers would look at me, and I would look at them, and I'd pop the thing up. They'd be like, what the fuck?
So I'm not gonna say I went to see it with my cousin and his wife, and they love Beetlejuice. And they were just excited to see Beetlejuice again. And I was like, I think there's fun moments. I like the way there's a lot of shots that are good. Obviously.
There's good things.
Yeah, and like
I love Winona Ryder. I've always had a crush on her since I'm like 2 years old.
She's killer. She's always been great. I like Jenna Ortega. I like I forget the actress's name.
Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, oh yeah. She's incredible. She's always incredible.
I was sad about Jeffrey Jones though.
Well, just birds of a feather.
Hashtag just justice for Jeffrey Jones.
So, I mean, I liked the black sheet over the whole house, the morning thing, whatever. A lot of moments that are fun, and it's member berries, and those moments are cool in terms of like, wow, cool. And Keaton's great. There's a bunch of things that are fun, but man, it felt like a straight to streaming movie.
And we're doing this again, like
it's just there's anything new that they introduce, they immediately undercut.
Which are the more interesting things.
Exactly. We'll talk about
Yeah, I
it.
think we're on the same page with
I
it.
think we're gonna have the same feelings, but I had a more forgiving attitude, and I'm kind of
Well, I didn't hate it with a burning passion. I'm like, fuck this. I wouldn't see a third. I would see a third and give it another chance because I think there's a good movie within Beetlejuice 2. And I think
Me too.
I think if you really took another pass and you tightened it up and you like
Yeah.
tweak this thing and move this thing here, I think you
Yeah.
could tell a really great movie.
I agree. I really think that every time they introduce a new thing, they undercut it completely just to be like, remember this guy? Remember
Yep.
the small head? The little guy with the
Yeah.
head? He's here. And it's like, that's it. That's all they care about. So that was tough. But it's funny because I heard you talking about it with Jimmy, our buddy here,
Oh,
before I saw it. And not that I got any spoilers.
I didn't say anything, right?
You said like, it's a fucking mess. It's a fucking mess. And he's like, dude, he's like, oh, come on. I loved it. Woo, come on. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And I know what you're saying, but I feel like I'm realizing whenever you're going into the decades later sequel, the priority 9 times out of 10 or 19 times out of 20 is remember this. And that's it. And it's like, I've given them so many chances in different
Yeah.
things. And again, it's like, it's not like I hated fucking Bad Boys 3 or Bad Boys 4.
I liked 3.
3
I
was
didn't
okay.
see 4 yet.
They're all just pretty like, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to do the same kind of stuff. I get it. And I am like Top Gun Maverick shocked me with the quality.
It was so fucking
Halloween
good.
2018 shocked me.
I love that one too.
Yeah, but I think that we have to be ready to walk into those being like, if this is good, I will be shocked. And kind of think like this is probably going to be like, oh, I remember that guy.
I think I'm very easy to please and I'm pretty forgiving if you tell me a solid 3-act structure story.
Yeah.
And if you're not sloppy and all over the place, I'll forgive a lot. And because Beetlejuice is all over the fucking place, it's hard for it to resonate with my sensibilities.
I also thought it kind of felt a little small.
I could see that.
You know what I mean?
I mean, the first one's kind of small too.
But the first one should be small.
Yeah.
This is like, remember that huge success that everyone remembers that is worthy of making a sequel 30 years later. So I almost feel like it shouldn't be small. It should be like, you know what I mean? It's a little bit tough. But if you like Beetlejuice a lot, go in expecting a C- and you'll be pleased.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. And the third movie we saw was Joker Folie Deux.
Folie Deux. They got that from Hot Shots.
Did you know what Folie Deux means?
Yes. It means a shared mental delusion.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
a shared madness amongst two people.
Yes. I really liked it a lot.
I loved it.
I thought it was great.
It might be one of my favorite movies of the year.
It's funny because this one's definitely a tough one to talk about spoiler free. I am confused. I mean, you have some answers of why people didn't like it, but I want to push back on that when we talk about the spoiler full.
Yeah.
I would say spoiler free. They do a lot of fun stuff that is like really off the wall. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that they open with a Looney Tunes tribute thing. That's
not a
super,
spoiler. It's the first 5 minutes of the movie.
and it's not. It doesn't have to do with the plot, and it's super authentic. And I was like, as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. I was like, the concept of just seeing that to open the movie is so bold that it informed me about the type of overall viewpoint they had on this story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think right away you have to like they told everybody up front, hey, this is a musical, guys.
Yeah.
So it's like be prepared for some musical shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, they wanted to Todd Phillips, the director, wanted to make this fucking weird oddball movie.
Yeah.
That is definitely not like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And for better or worse, all the technical aspects, like say what you will about the plot and the story, you may have issues with things that happen. I think you can't knock the visuals in the film
No, the direction
and the
awesome.
performances.
Oh, for sure.
So like the technical aspects, I think he nails. And I think it'd be hard for people to argue that. I think people get bogged down with a lot of the story details and maybe some of the pacing.
Yes.
And I have some pacing issues too, but overall, I fucking was over the moon about it. Couldn't believe how much I loved it.
I mean, it's tough because if you really like film, and me and you both really like film, what you're looking for is people pushing boundaries and doing new things. And I don't know if everyone's always looking for that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I could see, in other words, like if do you like Fight Club?
I love Fight Club. It's one of my favorite movies and the book.
Me too. Absolutely. And I could see someone like, David Fincher, who directed Fight Club, Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote Fight Club. If they did a Fight Club 2 movie, I could see them doing the same type of thing where they take a crazy hard left turn and do like wacky shit. And I can see the same type of audience shitting on that.
I could see people having an issue with it.
You know what I mean? And I think it's the same type of people who liked the first Joker that didn't like the second one.
Yeah, I think it just was something that the first Joker in particular appealed to a certain taste and sensibility within certain people.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one went in such a hard, different direction.
Yes.
It would be the equivalent of watching Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1,
Yep.
right? And Spider-Man 2 comes out and it's a gothic horror where Peter Parker doesn't have powers and he's in a haunted house.
Yeah.
It's honestly that different where you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Which I love. That's what I'm looking for.
I get why, because I was a Spider-Man. I mean, he's my favorite characters. But it's like, if I see Spider-Man 1 and I fucking love it, and you're like, Spider-Man 2's coming out, I'm like, fucking, I can't wait. And you're like, so here's the deal with this one. He has no powers, and he's in a haunted house for 2 hours. I'd be like, what? Like, why are we doing this? Like,
Yeah.
I'd be mad too. I get it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be bitching online. I probably just would not go see it.
Yeah.
But I understand it to a point.
Yeah. I understand it to a point too, in terms of that. There's other stuff that it's harder for me to swallow. But
Yeah.
I'd say if you're a real fan of film and you care about cinematography and performance and experimentation and boundary pushing and kind of like pulling the audience in different directions,
And a big swing.
huge swing, I think you would like Joker too. And the last one.
And also, if you didn't like the first Joker, I would recommend the second one.
Yeah, because you didn't like the first one.
I thought it was pretty okay at best. I found it pretty derivative of other better movies. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, they're doing Taxi Driver here, and they're doing King of Comedy, and they even got Robert De Niro, who was in King of Comedy. Okay, they really want me to think about King of Comedy.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, I'm like, I want to watch King of Comedy, you know?
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about a better movie as this is on, and it's like, you're really not doing anything new. And like, it's fine, you know? And like, it's a good performance, but it came in, saw it, left my head.
Yeah.
And other people were like, this is my fucking movie. And it didn't do that for me. It's fine. I didn't hate it. But this one is almost about the first Joker movie.
Yeah.
Which is why I fucking loved it.
I really, really enjoyed it. And it's hard, like I said, hard to talk about without
Yeah.
spoilers. So the last one, as Rupert calls it, the substance.
Substance, which is actually the substance. I've been sounding like an asshole for fucking weeks.
I will say, so I want to give it up to Rupert. This is the true popcorn kernel way. Rupert has pulled me into so many movies that he's like, let's go see this thing that I had no idea about.
You didn't know this existed.
I didn't know this existed. I didn't know Barbarian existed. I didn't know there's another one at least one more that you took me to.
Yeah, there's a couple.
That Rupert was like, let's go see this. And he always
some aren't good. We saw that fucking Christmas horror movie.
Oh yeah, and Skinamarink.
It's a Wonderful Knife. Oh, Skinamarink. Jesus Christ. Skinamarink is probably the worst thing I've ever seen in a theater. I don't count it as a movie.
Yeah, I know. Oh, the other one was In a Violent Nature.
In a Violent Nature. Okay, well, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It wasn't awesome. It was fun, though.
I had my problems, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience of watching it.
Yeah.
But Rupert will pull me into this stuff, and I'm happy to have a friend like you in my life, being like, dude, I'm in. Like, I would have done the triple feature Wednesday as opposed to double feature. It's just like you had school, and then it was also like it's a weeknight, so the movies don't go that late.
Exactly.
I don't even think we had the option to do it.
It would have been so hard, and because like one of the movies we wanted to see wasn't playing at another theater, It's not like we could have stayed in one spot.
Yeah. So basically Wednesday, we were like, let's go to the movies this week. And Rupert's like, I'll do a double feature. I'll do a triple feature on Wednesday. But then the movies we wanted to see, the way it worked out was we got to see Joker and Substance back to back.
What was the third movie we were debating about? It was going to be like anything, right?
I wanted to see Never Let Go with Halle Berry. That looks like a great trailer to me. But I was like, let's do it. I appreciate the fact that you're down for that kind of shit. Cause I don't know a lot of other people in my life that are down for that.
That if it was up to me, that's all I would want to do every day of my life. Is like I get up, I eat breakfast, and it's like I'm going to watch movies now from like the time I like wake up until I go to sleep.
Dude, I feel the exact same way. And watching movies in a theater is so superior to me. That's what I want.
I never enjoy a movie as much in my house. It's like
never.
It's like in the theater, it's like I have to go to the bathroom. I'm gonna try to hold it until the movie's over. Or
Yeah,
like
I know.
I'm not gonna look at my phone right now. And in the house, it's like, oh, my phone's going off. Oh, the baby's crying. Let me check. Oh, my wife needs me. Oh God, walk the dog. And like,
oh my God, I know. Believe you me. I in New York, I'm pretty lucky in my apartment because it's like it's usually me and one other person, and we could just like turn off the lights, focus on the movie, and that's it. I don't have any distractions really. In Rhode Island, I have my roommate and my roommate's girlfriend, who's also my buddy, and her dog is around. And I live on a main street, and my parents live up the street, and Brad lives around the corner.
Everyone knows you're home.
There's like all these different things that always kind of are part of that. Plus, I have an open floor plan in my house, so there's a lot of noise in Rhode Island. But I know what you mean. I'd much rather watch movies in a theater 24/7. I fucking love it, and I appreciate you for pulling me into the substance. It was great. And we went to AMC to see Joker.
Yep.
Then we talked about Joker like feverishly for like an hour and a half. And then we went over to the Alamo Draft House in Staten Island and we watched The Substance. And I didn't know anything about it. I think you mentioned that Demi Moore was in it. And I was like, okay. And when Rupert's like, I want to see this, I purposely don't watch trailers because it's so much fucking fun. The first time that ever happened to me was when I watched The Ring for the first time. I got free passes and they pushed the release back. So there was no trailers on TV.
So you didn't know anything.
So I didn't know anything. And I thought it was a romantic comedy going in. And I was like, The Ring. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, maybe well, you know, I was thinking about like The Hangover right before a wedding.
Yeah.
The Ring. You know, I mean, it's a Hangover sequel. Todd Phillips. But and seeing The Ring without knowing anything.
That bitch is coming from the TV. How did they get my tape up there?
I fucking loved it. So when you hit me with a recommendation, I'm like, I'm going. I don't care if this guy shows me Skinamarink 50 times in a row. I'm still trusting this motherfucker. But we went to go see this.
At least with Skinamarink, I didn't recommend it to you and not go. I was in the fucking ship too.
You were sweating like a pig.
I was like, oh my fucking God.
You're gonna crucify me. You're nailing a crown of thorns into your own head because you want to.
Jimmy was sitting there like, man, I like everything, and even I don't like this one.
Yeah, exactly. But Substance blew my dick off my body. It blew my balls into the next parking lot. I couldn't
fucking believe it.
It was fucking awesome. I loved it. I thought it was great. I don't know. I really loved it. It's you know, spoiler free.
It's body horror.
It's body horror. And the spoiler free aspect, this is a novella movie. It's very, very self-contained.
Oh yeah, like I can't imagine doing a sequel to this. Like,
yeah, and when I say novella movie, I guess I mean like the characters. The characters only exist to tell this story. They aren't here for other stuff. It's only to tell this story. We don't need to know that much about their backstory. You know, in this, we get Demi Moore is a 50-year-old, very beautiful but 50-year-old fitness instructor doing an old school style show. She gets
aerobics
aerobics style exercise show. Sorry to make that clear. And she kind of gets fired, and she overhears the fact that it's because they want someone new and young and hot, and they want to go into the new, you know, a new space, a younger demographic. And she takes part in this thing to make herself feel young again in a way. And it's a parable, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's the moral and message is so crystal clear.
And it's weird because it's like, to me, this could be like a 70s type of horror movie where they're like, here's the message. So let's just write this story around the message, and this is what it's about. And it was fucking excellent.
And there's a way of they just constantly escalate things, and you're like, oh, this is enough. And it's like, nope, we're going 10 steps further than you fucking could think.
I know. And me and you were in the theater. We got these bitches behind us.
Oh, they would not shut up.
I say bitches, not meaning women, meaning people who don't give a fuck about the people around them. Inconsiderate bitches. They just were like, just open. It's weird because they openly talked for the first 25 minutes. Then they shut up for an hour and a half because the movie is like 2 hours and 15 minutes long. And then for the last half hour, they just talked the entire time. And I'm like, and I mean, the movie was so big at that point.
Crazy.
And crazy. It was more palatable than during the opening where they're setting everything up. But man, if you like horror and if you like
body horror shit,
and like experimental, but like basically like I would call this like nearly like art horror, right?
Oh, I mean, this is so the director's name is Caroline Fargeat or oh. Fargeat. She's French.
Yes.
This is her second movie I've seen of hers.
What was the first one?
First one is a film I believe called Revenge. It's like a rape revenge thriller.
Okay.
It's okay. I thought it was pretty derivative, but it was fine.
Mhm.
But this is like her big statement, and only a woman would have been allowed to direct this movie.
Oh yeah.
And the way it's shot, because it's a sexy movie too. Like there's a lot of female nudity, which you don't see in modern movies.
Here's what's weird about it. Like the other body horror stuff has really, it takes over your memory of the movie and the way you feel about it because it's so big.
Not for me.
But the rest of the movie is like the porniest movie I've ever seen in my life.
There's just shots of ass. Like
there's shots of like the front of people's crotches, like with like very, very, very small like leotards, but like extremely exploitative.
Yeah.
In a way that is like, I was like, this is crazy that we're seeing this in a theater. It was just like outrageous.
I was like, I wish I was alone in my home right now watching this.
This is
that
the
was
only
the one
time.
time, yeah. And just for a couple of scenes, then I could go back to the theater.
The dog starts to bark. Shut the fuck up. Yeah. But I thought the movie was awesome. Storytelling was great. Demi Moore killed it. I'm so glad she was
such a
attached to this.
brave. It's a brave performance.
It's a brave performance, and it's weird because her name lends the film so much legitimacy, and I feel like it's a necessary element of making this thing.
I'm gonna say one thing to you that I think is a little weird, and there's only one. Like, so Demi Moore's great in it, but there's one thing that could have made it a little more interesting if they cast Andy McDowell, because her daughter is Margaret Qualley, the other chick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So wouldn't that be a little?
That's cool.
And that kind of fits what happens a bit more.
That's cool. That's very cool.
But I do love Demi Moore in it.
Yes,
she's great.
Yes, that's cool. That would probably be lost on most people that are in the audience.
Yeah.
But that is a cool idea. And Dennis Quaid was the boss, right?
Oh, Dennis Quaid is such a sleaze bag in this. It's amazing.
I love the way they shot him. I love the low fisheye.
Yes.
So it's discussed. Oh, it's so awesome. But yeah, if you like horror and you want something elevated and like really like well written and smart and paced out and not like slasher
and funny
jump scare
and horny and like,
yeah, it's awesome. It's a very well done film, but be ready to be pushed past your limit of comfort, because I was. And I'm down for this shit.
You were cringing at points. Like I felt it.
I couldn't do it, dude. It was like, it killed me. It was excellent though. I loved it. I fucking loved it. It was great.
That's a movie that's going to be on Criterion in their collection within 5 to 10 years.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be like a cult favorite. It should be.
This is the movie. This is the type of movie that I want to seek out. And it feels like one of these comes out every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something cool like this. I will say, you know what else came out this year that I feel like I know it made a lot of money versus the cost of the production. And I'm sure it's well reviewed, like if I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes, but I hope this has some staying power, is Monkey Man. Monkey Man was fucking awesome. Did you see that movie?
Yeah, I thought it was all right.
You thought it was all right?
For me. Yeah, I mean, it had good action sequences. I think if you cut out maybe 45 minutes, I think it could have been a really good movie.
Really?
It just felt too long, and like the action sequences, it was too spaced out.
I guess
there's a lot I like though.
The action, I understand the action was like, it was presented a little bit more in the trailer, like it was going to be all
Wick.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I liked in Monkey Man the trippiness and like the culture aspect of it. And like, I like the idea, this is not really spoiling anything, that he kind of fails with his first attempt and he has to work harder.
No, I thought like that's something that I like, and I like that we see him train and get better. Like there's definitely things I like.
And I think I like it more too because of the authorship. The fact that guy wrote it, directed
Dev
it.
Patel is great. Did you ever see Green Knight?
No.
So give Green Knight a chance.
Yeah.
He's the actor in that.
Yeah.
The director, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but Green Knight was my favorite movie the year it came out.
Okay.
It's basically this guy, I forget the director's name now. I'm drawing a blank, but he's really good and he's done a bunch of shit I like. I gotta look his name up. I'm sorry. I'm gonna fucking feel like an asshole.
I do remember reading that like Quentin Tarantino loved Green Knight or something like that. Like there was some buzz around it that was like people should be watching this.
David Lowery,
Mm-hmm.
who did what was his other fucking movie? Did he do Ghost Story? He did Ghost Story. Okay. That was his like big movie. Did you see that? Casey Affleck is under a sheet the whole time.
No, I never saw that. I know about it.
Okay, yeah, it's an interesting movie. It's worth watching.
Yeah.
But Green Knight is he took like Knights of the Round Table shit, right? Like
Yeah.
King Arthur. And he told one of the stories, which is Sir Gawain or Gawain, whatever. He took his story where he interacts with the Green Knight and he adapted it into this movie. And it's just beautifully shot and it's a great retelling of that story. It's awesome.
That's cool.
I think you would dig it.
I heard a lot of great stuff about it. I didn't really see any trailers, so I don't even have a mental picture in my head about what it's like, but I'm happy to watch it. And I'm always looking for stuff to watch around Halloween that's a little bit macabre. Is it macabre? Or am I getting it mixed with something else?
It's not a horror movie.
Is it a little bit dark and scary?
It's not scary, but it's weird.
Okay.
It's weird. There's weird shit.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of then.
It's definitely weird and memorable. Like there's striking images will be like,
Okay.
oh, that stuck with me.
Yeah. I'm definitely down to watch it. I heard some good stuff.
But yeah, I feel like that's kind of it for spoiler free, right?
I think so, man. I think we got to get into spoiler full, baby.
All right, it's spoiler time.
So we're gonna do Trap first. And,
you want to plug your stuff one last time for people that aren't sticking around?
Yeah, if you're not sticking around, this Sunday, October 20th in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, right outside of Providence, is the Funbearable Halloween Spooktacular, a live comedy Halloween podcast at Kismet Improv in Hope Artiste Village. It's in the same building as the Met. If you're from the Rhode Island area, it's going to be myself, Ray Harrington, Brad Rohr. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come out if you're in New England. We're going to have a really kooky time. And if you want a Funbearable shirt or merch or whatever, we're going to have all that stuff there. You won't have to pay any shipping or anything like that. We can sign stuff. So hopefully we'll see everybody out there.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Spoiler time.
Spoiler. Trap. Let's do Trap,
all
baby.
Right. So Trap, the whole trailer makes it look like they're in the concert the entire time.
Yeah.
But
the last, I'd say 25 to 30 minutes is afterwards.
He gets out and it keeps going.
So I loved all the stuff in the theater. In the venue.
Yep.
I loved the way that he had to maneuver around and get this pass and go here and try to talk his way into this. And he's in the back. He's on the roof.
He's walking around. Yeah.
All that shit was fucking awesome for tension. And then, the one thing that is weird about this movie is M. Night Shyamalan is never been to a concert. So she's like, hey, everybody. All right, that was that song. I'll be back in a little bit. See you later. Yeah. And they're like, all right, let's walk around this weird venue and come back in a little bit. I'm like, why
She's
did they
taking
make that?
act breaks.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of is, does Taylor Swift do that? I've never been to a Taylor Swift show, but does she? Because her shows are probably so massive, maybe she does take breaks.
I would be surprised. I will say this though. So we saw it this summer, and then I went to the final NoFX shows because NoFX is one of my favorite bands, and they're breaking up. They do an hour and 10, and they take a break, which is the first time I've ever seen it in my life.
Well, they want the serial killers to be able to maneuver around and get out.
Yeah. I think it's because I think the lead singer of NoFX is 57. Oh. NoFX has been around for 40 years.
That's old to be doing punk, man.
Dude, and so the song that they closed on night 2, you don't know NoFX that well, right?
No, I know they exist.
Right. So one of their crowning achievements is they have a 20-minute punk rock song. It's called The Decline, and it's extremely. It has different movements. It's funny because it predates Green Day's American Idiot, where they kind of do Jesus of Suburbia and those really long songs, and it's fucking awesome. And I know that they kind of want to rest up for a second and get ready for that. But they're also wicked old. Fat Mike, the lead singer, is a crazy drug addict, and he drinks the whole time. And I'm sure he wants to pee and rest, whatever. So it was so funny because I'm like, what is M. Night Shyamalan doing? Artists don't take breaks in the middle of their set. And then I start going, I see NoFX, and they're like, we'll be right back. And I was like, are they doing this just to legitimize this movie? Legitify?
Legitimize.
All right.
They had their Josh Hartnett Trap shirts.
Yeah, every screen promoted Trapped in between,
Remember, guys, go see Trapped in theaters.
Yeah. I was like, why did he write that into it, that this artist did that? I think what they should have done, because it's weird. It's I think, if I remember correctly, Josh Hartnett and his daughter leave at that point in time. But couldn't she just say like, I want to run to the bathroom? And he could go, he's like, you're going to miss some of the show. And she's like, I don't like this song. That's it. You do the same thing. Why not just do that as opposed to make this fictional thing where this monstrous artist that's 22 would just take a break in the middle of her set?
Well, I guess the thought process is it gets everybody out into the halls at times, and I think he needed that.
What's weird though is like there would be a lot of people in the halls anyway the entire time for a
You
stadium.
think so?
Oh, I've been to a million stadium shows, and it's like for sporting events and for concerts.
Sporting events, I know there's always people walking around.
Yeah, I think there's people around a lot, but I don't know. It would just seem like a weird choice to me, but that's me nitpicking. I just thought it was odd. But like you were saying, it essentially gets to the point where she gets to go backstage. This is his ticket out of here. All that stuff was fucking awesome.
I love it.
I loved it. It was great. He kind of like in a shithead way talks his daughter into being the special guest that she picks at every show.
Yeah.
And so he's like,
comes up and does a song.
So he's like, we're going to get out. And I don't remember what happens, but they go backstage with the pop artist, the girl.
And he goes, can I have a second alone with you?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a way out. He's kind of caught.
Oh, that's right.
And he goes into her dressing room. He's like, here's the deal. You got me. I'm the killer.
Oh,
I know you're in on it.
I loved that.
I'm going to slit your fucking throat, basically, and kill you.
No, I'm going to kill the guy.
Kill the guy. That was it.
Because he had a video camera.
He had a hostage.
He had a hostage on his phone that he could check in on. And he's like, I'm going to kill this guy unless you get me out of here. And I was like, it just ramped it up so much.
That was a great moment.
I loved it.
And she agrees, and she's like, come in my limo.
Yeah.
So they go in the limo, and she starts playing him with the girl. She's like, I want to come to your house.
Yeah.
Let me in. And of course, the girl's going to be like, let Taylor Swift come into my house, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. And so she starts, it's funny because Josh Hartnett and that girl, the pop star, the Taylor Swift, they kind of start playing each other, like social situations against each other.
Yes.
And it's fucking awesome. So she goes into the house and she does the thing where she takes his phone and she goes in the back. All that stuff was so good. But to your point earlier, it was a little meandering at first where you're like, where's this going? Why is she doing this? What's going on here?
And I think they have too many false endings after that.
Yeah, me too.
Where it's like, again, I don't want to spoil. Like, I know we're in spoiler, but I'll leave some things vague.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a part where like his wife kind of tricks him, and then like it goes again and a step further.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, it's like, wrap it up, guys. Like all your concert shit was good and this was good, but it's too much now.
Yeah, there was just a couple things. Like it's tough to like if we had just watched it today,
it'd be
I could plot out and be like, well, this shouldn't have happened. Why didn't you go straight to this? But then, all throughout the ending, he keeps figuring out ways to get away. That's kind of how the movie concludes as well, is that he's still like figuring things out and he's still getting away. And I was like, this was just so fun.
And the message of the movie is don't fuck with Swifties and Taylor Swift.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't ruin your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I really enjoyed it, man. I haven't seen a lot of the M. Night stuff in recent memory. Like I really like Sixth Sense. I love Unbreakable. I love Signs. I think Signs is great.
You like Signs?
I think Signs is really good. And I liked The Village the first time I saw it. I think it might be tough on a rewatch because it's so based on just
the twist.
Yeah. But besides that, I don't think I've seen another one. I haven't seen Old. I haven't seen
What about
Devil.
Split?
Oh, Split was pretty good.
I like Split.
Oh no, Split was great.
Glass
was okay.
I didn't like Glass.
I was like, I don't like this whole ending. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It felt kind of cheap.
We're drowning Bruce Willis in a puddle. That's how we're ending this.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's another twist with this girl, and I'm like, ugh. But I mean, it wasn't awful, but it was just like I was like,
I didn't like it.
I like Split.
I liked Old.
I didn't see Old.
Old was fun.
And then Devil, how was that? You were talking about it earlier.
Devil's a fun movie. Very self-contained. Basically, there's like 6 or 7 strangers who get caught in an elevator, and one of them is the devil.
Yeah, and you don't know who it is?
And you don't know who it is. And people start dying.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's fun.
The idea of a whodunit in like an elevator like that is really cool.
I really think you would dig it. Like if you're looking for like a tight thriller Halloween watch.
Yeah.
I mean, what's more Halloween than Staton?
Yeah.
Give it a watch.
No, that's very fun. I would definitely watch that. And my girlfriend is like not into like straight up horror.
Okay.
She says she's not into horror, and then she's like, "Well, I like the Halloween movies. I like Texas Chainsaw. I like that." And I'm like, you just know that some horror movies are bad. It's like
Yeah.
you want to avoid those. You could just say that.
You want to watch you don't want to watch the shit. You want to watch like Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And for me, I know that some horror is bad, and I'm okay with
I
that.
want to watch it.
And I'll watch it too. But yeah, so I really like Trap. I thought it was very fun.
Yeah, I'm a big booster of Trap.
Yeah, I think it was good.
Which I know is probably gonna be an unpopular opinion here, but
You think
whatever.
so?
I feel like people didn't like it. Like I know Jimmy didn't like it.
Oh, really?
And I go by him because he loves everything. So it
Yeah,
makes me
that is
think maybe
strange.
I'm wrong.
That's
Dude,
funny.
even I didn't like that one.
Hey, if I didn't like it, you know it sucks. And then
Beetlejuice.
That's right. So give me your full
All right.
thoughts.
Here's my issue. So we're introducing a backstory for Beetlejuice. Fine. He had a wife that killed him that is now being released for reasons.
I will say this. My whole novella thing, it works well for Beetlejuice because there's so little information about Beetlejuice in the first movie.
Oh, yeah.
So you do get to build that. I thought the way they did the cutaway to tell the story about the wife was awesome.
Fun.
That was awesome. I thought that was very fun. It was kind of like a 1940s monster movie throwback.
Well, it's they're referencing Mario Bava movie. He's an Italian filmmaker. They're referencing directly. It's like a parody of 2 movies of his. Like they took direct scenes.
Oh, that's cool.
And parodied them. I don't know the names right now.
That's awesome. I thought that was great. But continue.
So I felt like everything with Monica Bellucci is so sloppy and not handled well. And it's like, so when you think of the end of the first Beetlejuice, right? Okay, so how does it end? Beetlejuice has been sent back to hell. He broke some rules. He's defeated. And he's in like the hell DMV line forever, right? It's going to take him forever. And he gets his head shrunk by the guy.
Mm.
We see there's only one shrunken head guy and Beetlejuice. And there's like a witch doctor guy, right?
Yes.
So there's a witch doctor, a shrunken head of Beetlejuice. Movie ends. It looks like Beetlejuice is going to be punished for eternity.
Mm.
That's how I always took it. Movie starts. Now Beetlejuice has a thriving business filled with shrunken head dudes that are taking calls from him. This was like one guy in the first movie. Where did this army of shrunken head dudes come from? Why are they listening to Beetlejuice? Like, what is happening here, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so jarring compared to the first movie.
Yeah.
Like, that Beetlejuice has this boss-like position and, like, respect.
Yes.
He's lost, and he's like a scumbag. Like, he shouldn't be doing this. Okay. And then you're introducing a plot thread, which is the most interesting thing in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
My wife called it the second the guy was on screen, by the way. Jenna Ortega's new boyfriend, which was the more interesting thread in the movie, is like, he's actually an evil serial killer ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And the second she meets him, my wife goes, oh, he's a ghost.
So when they walked into his house and the mom and the dad didn't show their faces.
That's when I knew.
Well, I wasn't like, he's dead and they're dead, because that seems weird.
Okay. I
was like, either they're dead, but more likely he's dead and they don't see him. I thought they were fine. They were normal. But I didn't know, I was like, I'm going to let this play out. I don't know. I definitely didn't think he was, whatever. I mean, I'm sure that some people just figured out all of them are dead and he's a ghost, or at least he's a ghost. And that's the main thrust of that storyline, which is the case. But I didn't know that he was going to be he was definitely going to be a ghost. And I definitely didn't think he was going to be a serial killer that was killed his parents. But I think that it was like, so would you say that the 2 storylines introduced that are big are the ex-wife of Beetlejuice and the ghost boy that Jenna Ortega is dating?
Yeah, I think those are the more important plot threads.
Both of them completely handled like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck about this?
Why is this happening?
It's like, but the movie isn't even like, we're going to let this plot come out. It's going to be important. Like, if you think about the character of Monica Bellucci, Beetlejuice's ex-wife, she's very threatening. She's very powerful.
She's a badass.
She kills Danny DeVito. She kills this guy. She kills this guy. And like Willem Dafoe, who like barely has a part.
He's there just to be funny. He's there almost taking the place of, in the first Beetlejuice, the smoking lady.
Yeah.
Like the bureaucratic smoking lady.
Yes. And it's like, so he's like, Beetlejuice, you better look out for this lady. And like, when she eventually gets to Beetlejuice at the climax of the movie, Beetlejuice is like, here's a sandworm, and then he eats her, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, she doesn't speak, so you're waiting for like the big moment with her, and they just are like, nah, this doesn't matter.
It's almost like Tim Burton was like, am I not going to put in the chick I'm banging into my new movie? Like, it's like, come on. Have you guys not been paying attention to my work the past 30 years? That's what I do.
It's crazy because it was such a clear, for me, representation of how these movies are looked at, because what they did was, here's the new thing.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. It's finally going to be an important part. Remember the snake?
Yep.
That's more important.
You're totally right. That's the metaphor of what it is.
Exactly.
It's like, we're doing a wedding again.
Oh, dude.
It's like, we're ending the movie exactly the same way as the first one. Isn't that fucking awesome? It's like, no. It's like, what actually would have made more sense is if like pervy ass Beetlejuice wanted to marry Lydia's daughter.
Yeah, there we go.
It's like, doesn't that seem more like what Beetlejuice would do? Like, oh, you're old now.
Yeah, how old was Winona Ryder in the first one? She got to be like, she was in school, wasn't she?
Well, yeah, she's a high school student in it.
See? There
it
you
makes
go.
way more sense with Beetlejuice to do that.
Yeah, and I also think they did the same thing with the Ghost Kid. That was handled so quickly and without care, like in terms of his demise. That was handled. Think about this. Winona Ryder has an ex-husband who died.
Yeah.
And Jenna Ortega, it's her dad. He happens to see her in the afterlife, and he's like, go up here. And they're like, thanks, Dad. And he's like, see ya. No emotional moment whatsoever.
Yeah.
Winona Ryder has that new guy that she's dating, and at the end, the whole time you kind of feel like he's a dick. Then at the end, he admits he doesn't even care about her, and it's just for the money. Snake thing eats him.
Yep.
Everything.
Snake eats all the problems.
Everything that was new, they were like, we don't care. We just don't care. This doesn't matter. And they handled it with zero gravitas, and it didn't really affect the plot eventually.
We just got to get to this wedding scene.
It was crazy.
So we can do our Deo ripoff.
And the Deo ripoff sucked.
It wasn't as good. No.
It wasn't. MacArthur's Park is the song they used. The song's not nearly as well known.
I don't know it as well.
I know it because of Weird Al.
Okay, here's the argument I'll make. Was Deo well known before Beetlejuice? Because again, I'm seeing it as a 2-year-old, so I've known it my whole life as the Beetlejuice song.
I guess it'd be hard to tell. It does seem like Deo is bigger. All that stuff, that like the biggest,
the Harry Belafonte stuff.
Yes, all that stuff seems bigger than MacArthur's Park. And here's the thing, though. So comedically and from a writing standpoint, having a ghost where you're trying to exorcise this ghost in your house, and it makes everyone dance to such an upbeat song, and so they have horrified faces and they're all like slapping their asses, and it's fun. That doesn't work with MacArthur's Park.
Not only that, it also, if you think about it, right, that scene, that dancing scene, it ties in to the Maitland's characters, who are sorely missed in this, by the way, because they ground the movie in a simple way.
I was like, why didn't they at least have Gina Davis? She was in a movie this summer, and she was awesome.
I guess they didn't want to explain them aging. That would be my guess.
You can, who cares?
I don't know.
Who cares?
I don't know.
I mean, like, the idea that, first of all, I don't love everything that's happened with Alec Baldwin. I think it's really weird.
Neither did the set of Rust.
Well, it's like, I think it's really weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that it's like, I want to say to someone, do you think he wanted to kill someone? Do you actually think that? Because the answer is no. So it's like, what are we pissed about? How many producers do you know are going around and checking the props and being like, is this one flimsy? What's going on here?
Well, I think he'll be fine. I think his career will rebound.
I think
there'll be jokes about him forever, though.
That's fine. But I just think that if there's like, well, Alec Baldwin is too problematic.
Well, when they were filming this, the court case was still going on.
Yeah, maybe. So I get the idea that would hang over the movie in a weird way. So I understand. But Gina Davis, at least bring her in. She's an excellent actress. She was in Blink twice this summer, which I have huge problems with.
I want to see that. I didn't get to.
I can't wait to talk to you about it because it pissed me off so fucking much. Worse than Watchers.
Oh. Because
Blink twice could have been amazing.
Okay.
Could have been awesome. Cinematography is great. Direction is great. Editing is awesome. It's Zoe Kravitz.
Okay, that's her debut, right?
She fucking knocked it out of the park as a director alone. The writing is so fucking stupid.
Okay.
The plot hinges on several things that are so stupid. We could fix every problem in that movie in an hour, but people were paid millions of dollars and bypass the dumbest plot points ever. But we'll talk about that another day. But Gina Davis is in it, and she's great. So I wish she was in Beetlejuice. I do think that would have been a positive thing for this movie to have. But I interrupted
All
you
right,
talking about Deo.
But back to the Deo scene.
Yeah.
So that is the Maitlands.
Yeah.
It's Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis
Hmm.
trying to scare the people, and they're unable to.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense at the end of the movie when Beetlejuice is the big bad
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
Now he's the head boss,
Yeah.
and he's getting ready to like fuck shit up, and he's gonna marry Lydia and like do all this, that he's gonna make everybody dance.
You know what would have been a cool idea? If he did marry Lydia.
That's what I was thinking.
That would have been cool. That would have been really cool.
I actually thought they may have been going that way as almost like kind of tying into the first one where she's changed now and she's like, well, I want someone who wants me for me.
Because he's a mischief guy. And in the first one, they kind of like another, like, I guess in the first one, he crosses some boundaries, let's say.
She's a teen.
Yeah, there's that and stuff
He's
like
a
that.
regular Jeffrey Jones.
But what about in this one? If they got with him wicked early in the movie and they were working through this stuff the entire time, and she eventually did fall for Beetlejuice and they did get married.
And I think that is, and I had that thought too, and I think that's why you need the serial killer kid to take the daughter away early. And now Lydia is forced to go on an adventure with Beetlejuice. And they connect while they're stopping this kid. And at the end, like maybe Beetlejuice is like, you know what? You really don't want to marry me. It's okay. Like, I just wanted to help you get your daughter back.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I've changed. I do.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah. That's great. And I think that would have been fun.
That's an arc.
That would be an arc. And it would be like,
and then, you know what? For the third one, you could use Monica Bellucci as the ex-wife who's there.
Yeah.
And she's pissed at the new relationship.
See, and so this is why the 20-year, decades later sequels don't work, is because they don't want to make those changes. They don't want to make those swings. But that was the way to go. That's cooler. That's a more fun thing. But yeah, so like I was saying,
it's
like,
all over the place.
I think they were like, the only reason the ex-wife is in it is because
she's fucking Tim Burton.
Well, it's so funny. I was talking on the phone with somebody a long time ago. I have a band called Senior Discount. We kind of stopped playing a couple years ago, but we never really broke up or anything like that. Great friends of mine. I was in a punk band for 15 years. We toured up and down the East Coast. We got signed. Like, we had a great time. It was a huge part of my life and my focus for a long time. But with Senior Discount, one of the things we did was comedy videos to promote our shows. That was kind of a part of our identity. And they eventually became as long as sitcoms, and they had A, B, and C storylines.
Okay.
So a long time ago, the reputation of the band in the videos was that we were really obscene. We really pissed people off. We like upset everybody. Everyone hated us.
You're gross.
We thought that was funny. We thought that was like, every time we tried to get a band on our show, we would film with the band, and in the video they would hate us. They'd be like, fuck Senior Discount. That became the thing we always had people say was fuck Senior Discount. And so I met my buddy Brad, who is like my comedy like writing partner. I've been podcasting with him for like 15 years. And we said, let's bring him in. And I'm going somewhere with this. So, bear with me. And we brought him in as the head of the Rhode Island League of Decency. Okay. And so he was like an extreme version of Brad. And the character we came up with hates Senior Discount.
He's a stick in the mud.
Yes. And he's like looking for morals and decency.
He's your villain.
Yes. And he came after Senior Discount in the first video that he was in. And the storyline had to do with him trying to shut us down. Right. Second video he was in, we kind of thought about, we're like, there's not a lot of places to go if he's our adversary. He's always going to be by himself somewhere. We're always going to be by ourselves somewhere. How do we put us together? So like Beetlejuice, we said, how can these people who don't want to work together each need a thing from each other? And that's this movie. Lydia needs Beetlejuice's help because of why does she need his help?
In the movie?
Yeah, in Beetlejuice.
Because her kid basically had her soul given away.
So she's like, the only person I know that can help is Beetlejuice, right? But why would Beetlejuice help her? So Tim Burton goes, well, he has an ex-wife and she's coming and he has to get married before this happens so he can become whatever it is.
But that's not even it.
That is it, isn't it?
No, it's not even that he has to get married because it'll like break the curse or anything. He's just like, I just want to marry Lydia.
No, there's a reason in the movie.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a reason. Because like that's the reason that she's in it, is because they basically gave him like, it's the same thing as the Senior Discount video where it's like Lydia needs something from Beetlejuice, but why would Beetlejuice help her? Because he needs something from Lydia. Are you looking it up?
I'm looking. Yeah,
Is it probably be on Wikipedia? I would think.
I'm on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna have to do with the marriage thing, like nullifying something or making him alive again. Is that it?
No, I don't think that's it. I thought she just wanted to suck his soul.
We're so childish.
Maga Belushi could suck my soul. All right, he murdered her.
So, all right, so Beetlejuice. The reason it is what I thought. Basically, Lydia needs his help to get the daughter back, and he agrees to help her in exchange for getting her help to marry him, because then he can stay in the real world. That's the rules.
Okay.
So the reason I brought this up is because when we came up with the senior discount video idea, where we're like, senior discount, we've established they hate Brad, the head of Rylod. Brad, the head of Rylod, hates senior discount. We was like, we have to come up with a reason he needs to be around them, and they need to come around him. But we need to have both of those conclusions affect the conclusion of the video.
Yeah.
Both of those needs need to affect the ending.
They need to intertwine.
Exactly. And change what happens. And Tim Burton or the writers were just like, nah.
It's Beetlejuice. Fuck it.
They'll be like, no, the plot is this. We don't care about the ex-wife. She's just going to show up and she's going to get killed in 2 seconds. So I'm like, when we were 22, we cared more about making a 25-minute video for our punk rock audience that with that in terms of storytelling. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. And so like that's my problem with these decades later sequels is like I said, they prioritized the member-berry stuff so much more than actually even fulfilling the plot of the new movie that they are making. Willem Dafoe means nothing. The ex-wife means nothing.
Nope.
The ghost kid means nothing.
No.
And guess what else happens? Do you remember when Jenna Ortega is like, I think you're lying. You don't see dead people?
Oh, yeah.
Does she ever even say, I guess you do?
No, she's never like, you're wrong.
She's
I was
never
wrong,
like, I'm
Mom.
sorry about that. I love you. Blah,
I
blah, blah.
misjudged you, Mom.
The dad, no moment. Every new thing in this movie, they're just like, fuck this, fuck that, fuck this.
Here's what you really want. Here's a new Dale, idiots.
Yeah, and it's a sad, slow song.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So from the standpoint of like, I like to see this Tim Burton style of filmmaking. I like his creations. I mean, the idea that Lydia can talk to the dead and has a talk show, that's fun.
Well, it makes sense.
That's cool. The idea of the mom being a bigger artist is also fun.
I like the father kind of being like not the father. I like the idea of her new boyfriend kind of being like a user. You know,
yeah,
like
me
a
too.
scumbag. Yeah.
That's great too. That makes sense. And I like Jenna Ortega as a character, especially. And I think starting out, I don't believe you about the dead people thing. I think that you're fake. When the whole first movie revolves around the fact that she wishes she couldn't talk to this dead person. That's all good for setup. And then they were just like, okay, so we don't give a shit about anything we came up with and just show the stuff that people want to see.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, what the fuck?
And here's a wedding again and the crooked podium. You know,
I know.
There's a good movie within there. And look, if they did a third one, I'm not at the point where I'm like, fuck this, I won't see a third.
Yeah.
I would see a third because I think with like enough care and patience and like tightening things, you could do a good movie.
I think so too. I mean, I think that I got to be honest. If you took the first 15 pages of the screenplay of this one and you were like, make sure the new stuff is the plot is more important than the member berries.
Yeah.
I think that you could have made a good movie out of this.
I do. I think there's elements here that could have been good.
Yeah.
And Keaton's always great as Beetlejuice.
And why not bring Gina Davis back as a cameo at the end or something?
They were like, oh, they moved on.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're doing that now, I don't want them in the third.
Yeah.
If you're telling me they moved on and they went to like,
you
know, a finals place, leave it. I don't want them to come back.
All right. I'm going to ask you if you're in for this movie. You ready?
All right.
Ghostbusters. Beetlejuice.
I'm so fucking there, man. Yeah. After the last Ghostbusters, that's what they may need to do to get me back.
Man, if they got someone like killer, like a score guy, like John Williams, to combine the scores into a new thing together, that would be. We got to do this. We got to come up with Ghostbusters.
And wait, what's the Beetlejuice? Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, man.
That's not bad. That's not bad. You're getting there. I like it. That would be fun. That's, to me, if you're gonna do a soulless rehash of your properties,
Get silly.
at least get fucking silly, dude. Like when they were talking about the idea of doing the Men in Black, 23 Jump Street Men in Black
Oh, that would have been so
crossover,
much fun.
and they were and Universal was trying to do Jurassic Park Fast and Furious, which is fucking bananas. What's crazy about that is like the first Men in Black movie is like a silly version. I think the first Men in Black movie is very fun.
It's great.
It's fun for like, if you're fucking 12 or 13 when that comes out with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, awesome. And the first, new 21 Jump Street is a comedy. Go silly. I don't think you can do it with Jurassic Park because the first movie is like one of the best and most heartfelt movies ever made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so weird to be like, now Vin Diesel is driving up a Brachiosaurus.
Wait, didn't they start? They were like common criminals?
Yeah.
And now...
Oh, yeah. They were stealing DVD players.
Yeah. I'm going to go up this T-Rex. Hit the nods.
He's trying to get the canister
Oh.
that Dennis Nedry left in the first one.
And you know it's going to end with him riding a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, I can't spill it on the popcorn kernels, but I'm gonna need your voice talents for a really big fun project.
All right.
But yeah, so Ghostbusters Beetlejuice, we got to keep that. We got to do something with that. That's fucking awesome.
Pitch Doctors.
Yeah, hell yeah. So yeah, so that's my feelings in general. It's just like they really were like, let's feed the pigs their slop.
Yep.
And we have a chance to do something cool and new and actually make a new movie that kind of stands on its own. Nah.
Fuck it.
And that sucks.
I agree.
All
right.
It's tough.
Next one.
Mm-hmm.
Joker, Folie, Deux. This is the one I want to talk about.
So, me too. So, yeah, I know. Joker and Substance to me are the two headliners here. I really did like the first one. And I think probably a lot of it. Now, I haven't seen Taxi Driver, Falling Down, or King of Comedy.
Okay.
So those are the three movies that really influence it. But I do like the idea of, I guess this is the direction. Come with me. I'm Willy Wonka.
Right.
Ready?
I'm coming on the ride.
It's clear, even though me and you are down with the superhero movies, we give them all a chance, even if our hopes are not high. I do think in the world where they're going to keep making these movies, the smartest thing to do is to differentiate the properties by genre and director and say, we're going to let Todd Phillips take the Joker after the Nolan trilogy, which did so well that it's really hard to surpass.
To do another Joker, yeah.
Let's let him take the Joker, bring it to a different decade, make it way fucking darker, make it way more disturbing, and tell a much more grounded story that's smaller. And it's about the actor. It's about the commitment to this world and this viewpoint. I really appreciate that a lot. As opposed to like, now we're going to make the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show. Yeah. You know what I mean? I already appreciate just the concept.
You're doing something weird and unique.
Right. And I'd rather see that. I totally agree and understand that it feels like very derivative. And I also understand that's going to affect me less when I haven't seen those movies.
Exactly. To you haven't seen them.
Totally. But I think that the cinematography and like the feel of the movie and the acting was executed at a pretty high level.
I have no problem with any of that stuff.
Yeah.
My ultimate thing is obviously it's derivative, the first Joker.
Yeah.
And also it's like, I felt like it really wasn't almost saying anything. Like it felt hollow.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. You know, it's funny because I looked at it as more of a character study. And I'm okay with that, but I can agree with the idea that it's like, well, what are we trying to say here?
Why was this made? You know?
Exactly, yeah. Like, I get it, and it's a very cynical movie. It's a very dark movie. So I do understand the idea of like, well, what was the point of this? Is this saying something? I do concede to that.
And obviously, the first Joker comes out, and it gets a really big following, especially in the right. Right-wing people love the first Joker movie because it's kind of just shitting on modern society and how people are overlooked and, incels and people like that really latched onto the first Joker movie.
Can I tell you a weird thing? And like, I'm not going to get political with this. It's really strange because you know who gets overlooked in society? Like targeted demographics that are like minorities and people who are like the idea of like, the people who I think of that represent the right being looked over it's like, I don't think of that. I think of people who are like trans people, gay people, black people. Like the idea of authority coming at a specific group. We're not talking about the right wingers.
Well, this is so I don't want to get political.
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
So what I
get the incel thing though.
What-
The mad white 25-year-olds on Reddit.
well,
I get that.
So I'll say that. But what I'm also going to say is, until this current political campaign with
Mhm.
Kamala Harris,
Mhm.
you never saw a specific presidential campaign target white men. You never saw a white dudes for Barack Obama
Mhm.
or a white dudes for Hillary Clinton.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is they're never sought after by society or politicians where they're specifically saying, we want you, white dude.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas
Yeah,
like
I see what you're saying.
they'll specifically be like, we want to see black jobs, right? You'll never
see.
hear a politician be like,
Right.
we want a white job.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to fucking make a thing.
No,
you know,
I get it. So it's
I'm kind of stating their stance on it.
what's interesting though is, to me, the character of Arthur Fleck in the first Joker movie, what he represents to me is a ultra low income, mentally handicapped person who is not being taken care of by society. And to me, that feels like a much more left leaning cause.
It is in some ways, but
Yeah.
on the right side of it would be that the society and system is so corrupt and fucked up now because of how it's been built
Yeah.
that it has to be torn down almost. You know what I mean? This is why I feel like it's a movie about nothing.
That's the, yeah, I mean, it's really funny that you say this because it brings up like a bigger without getting
I don't want to talk about politics.
without getting political. It's really funny because like there is this call to the Republican side of things that's like, basically you don't want to take care of people. There's kind of this, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And to me, that plays into this more than, you know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like
this is just me, like what I got out of it. And like, I don't look at the Joker and say they're making a political statement. I just see the story they tell is basically about a guy who is not taken care of, who needs help. It's what it seems like.
it's an overlooked member of society, which
Exactly.
however you want to take it,
Yeah.
you could kind of take it either way.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I don't want to make this a political thing.
But you know what I mean? Like it's weird. It's a weird thing. But I agree with you because I don't think, I don't think they really associated him with white dudes, and B, I don't really think they associated him with a marginalized part of society either, because he's so by himself in the movie.
He's a weird fucking dude.
Yeah, it's not like he has a group of people and they're all in a support group and he's the one who stands up for everything. He's so lonerish that I'm like, it feels like it's just a story about this character.
Yeah.
The first one. And in that way, I agree, where it is hard to parse out what was the point of this. But to me, I guess the way I took it was like, if we're going to be doing superhero shit nonstop and we got all these IPs and that's what these companies are going to be pumping out, what characters do you know? You're getting a movie. What character do you know? You're getting a movie. I'd rather have this be the movie than Black Widow.
I liked Black, but I feel, see, here's the thing, because it's
but I mean, like Black Widow, even if you like it or you don't, it's samey.
No, what I'm saying is it's funny though, because it's like what I like about a comic book, again, is like I like a very simply told fun action story with some ass kicking and some stuff like that. But I'm also down for a heady examination of something. So
Right.
it's like I don't like that it's like I need one or the other. It's like, why can't I get sit right now this month I get, you know, this joke, like I get a Joker 1 and in 6 months why can't I get you do like a fully comic accurate Joker movie where it's like he's robbing banks, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah
because they're so tonally different.
I think the answer in terms of
I get the studio answer.
The studio answer is that we're splitting the audience and they are
Exactly.
confused and stuff like that. It's the same reason that they can't make a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 4 right now, which you're going to talk about at some point. Says you.
Yeah.
But like there is a thing of how often do we want to use this character? and how many times is someone going to pay to see it in a different context before they go, I don't really know what they're doing anymore. So if they are going to make a post Nolan Joker prequel or origin story, I'd rather have them take a swing like this. And because within that swing, the cinematography, the acting, everything is at such a high level, I really like it as a character piece. That's how I feel.
I'm fine with it. You know, I don't have a problem with its existence. Like, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. But it's like, I wouldn't want Marvel tomorrow to be like, MCU is done and we're like just gonna go in like an artsy direction. Like I really wouldn't want that, because it's like, that's cool, you know, and I'm sure I'll like some and I won't like others. But it's like, I also like big budget blockbusters.
Well, you got to think what you're fighting for is actually what was happening, though, because what were the other DC movies that came out around this? It was doing both.
Yeah.
So it was doing both at the same time.
I mean, DC was doing it very poorly, but you know.
Yeah, but they were making
I know.
Batman vs. Superman,
Aquaman, and shit like
Justice
that.
League and stuff like
that.
that.
Fly is fucking all
I
over
don't know if it's a fly or if it's a mosquito or what. It looks like a mosquito.
You look like on camera, you look like you're like twitching out.
I want to get rid of it, but it's all right. So I think they were doing both, and I appreciated the fact that instead of like another DC level movie at the time, they went in this direction.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
Anyway, so Joker 2.
Yeah.
It comes out, and
so you're going into Joker 2 being like, I didn't really like Joker 1 that much. It was fine.
It was fine.
And I'm going in saying, I like Joker 1 a lot. Let's see where they go with this.
I never would have thought about Joker 1 again after seeing it, if it like didn't become like a meme online where people will post Joaquin Phoenix like smiling and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Never would have entered my head again.
Yeah.
So Joker 2, originally, from my understanding, is Todd Phillips did not want to do a sequel.
Uh-huh.
And Warner Brothers was like, you know, we'll give you $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all right, but I need a giant budget and I'm able to do whatever I want. And they say, okay. And he gets Joaquin Phoenix back and he gives him, I think, $40 million or something crazy. And then he gave Lady Gaga, I think, either 10 or $20 million too.
And I will say this, going forward with a post Margot Robbie Harley Quinn is also a monstrous undertaking. The idea of being like, we're going to do a new Joker after Heath Ledger and we're going to do a new Harley Quinn after Margot Robbie. And here's what's weird. The movies that Margot Robbie was in, I do like The Suicide Squad a lot.
I didn't like any of them.
You didn't like The Suicide Squad with James Gunn?
I thought it was meh.
Really?
Yeah.
What about when they kill everybody in the camp? Come on, that's fucking awesome.
I'm trying to. Is that the opening?
No, they kill everybody in the camp, and then they find out that it was all the allies.
Oh, they fucked up? Yeah.
That was fucking awesome.
That was a fun twist, yeah.
And you must have liked the kaiju at the end.
Oh, with the starfish?
Yeah.
Starro? It didn't click with me. That's all.
Interesting. I like that one a lot. But so
I mean, it was way better than fucking the other Harley shit.
So I think it was Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, and
Get Him has a Joker suit.
Thank you, Get Him. Harley Quinn, the Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey or whatever. And was she in 3 movies?
She was in two Suicide Squad movies and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey.
Okay. So I thought that like I said, the Suicide Squad was fun. The other 2 were really bad, but she's pretty excellent in all of them. Like in terms, I think she's great.
Yeah, she's good.
In terms of playing, and also, I mean, as much as it's kind of like, base, she's so beautiful and hot.
She's hot.
And
yeah.
it's crazy. There's so much impact from how attractive she is as Harley Quinn and how legitimately she plays it. I mean, you know what I mean? In terms of trying to picture someone actually taking on the mantle. She
does a very good depiction of the post Arkham Asylum Harley Quinn.
Incredible.
Because
this is coming from me, who I know personally know Tara Strong.
Okay. No. So I liked Harley as a character.
Yeah.
Before Arkham Asylum. I felt like there's almost 2 Harleys which exist. There's a Harley Quinn
from the Batman show?
From the Batman show up until Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Where like she wore a red suit and she was like what she was. And after Arkham Asylum, she started dressing sexy.
Yeah.
And they made her a sexy character, and then it caught on with cosplayers, and then it became a thing.
Yeah.
And that was really when the character started to explode in popularity. And then they drastically changed her character in the comics and stuff from what she originally was.
Okay, yeah.
And there's almost like two Harleys. I
Sure.
prefer the old classic Harley.
Okay. And so after that Harley comes out and she's so big, the idea of creating one for this world that's going to pull into a different direction, that's not going to feel like you're comparing them the whole time, I think is really hard. And I think that this movie really accomplished finding a new direction for that character within this world. Like when I watched Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn in this, I wasn't like thinking about Margot Robbie.
No, I wasn't at all.
I thought she was perfect for this world.
She was very well done and grounded.
She's awesome.
And she's great for her role.
And I'll say it's funny because I'm not a huge Lady Gaga fan in that I actively listen to her music, but I'm a huge supporter of her as a performer. I think she's excellent.
I think she has, like, I saw a review where someone called her talentless. And I was like, look, if you want to say she's a bad actress,
that's your opinion,
fine.
Whatever, yeah.
I think it's utterly absurd
Yeah.
to say she is talentless. Like,
no.
Regardless, you could say you hate her music or whatever. Her voice is undeniably fantastic.
Oh, dude, there's an EP that no one knows about. I've never seen anyone talk about this, where she does like all her hits and she just plays them solo on piano. And she doesn't do them like they sound like her hits. She does like those bluesy versions of them with like more of like a pause in between things and more buildups. And she's amazing. You know, and again, this is coming from someone who's like, I'm not like, when's the next Lady Gaga album coming out? She's just deniably an incredible talent. Even that movie with Bradley Cooper.
Her voice is great.
She's amazing. She's awesome in that.
I think she's a decent actress. You know,
I thought she was great. I thought she was great in this, and I thought she was great in that.
Yeah,
too.
I agree.
Yeah, she's awesome. But she killed it. Awesome person to bring on. The idea of being like, we're going to do the same type of movie as the first one, with the dark grittiness being like the soul of the movie, where it lives, and then the delusions are represented by these monstrous musical numbers with these huge over the top set pieces and stuff like that. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. That's fucking the coolest shit ever. It's such a contrast. It's such a thing that, like, what I want to see in theaters is stuff that you wouldn't expect a mainstream
big swings
studio to do. That's what's going to make people talk. That's what's going to make people excited. I mean, hey, I know this movie's fucking bombing like worse than Madam Web.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to lose so much money.
It's going to be one of the biggest disasters in Hollywood history.
It's insane. And it's weird because, like, I don't know what that says about where we are as a culture in terms of, like,
well,
we just said the Beetlejuice thing. I feel like the fact that Beetlejuice will probably make a good amount of money and Joker 2 won't is showing you that the pigs want their slop.
Oh, the pigs definitely want their slop.
Yeah. By the way, that's going to be our popcorn kernels. The pigs want their slop.
Yeah. I think it's, I think it's also a thing where you made a movie.
Yeah.
And you're doing the second one so radically different. And again, my personal belief is Todd Phillips made this as a fuck you to several people. I think he made it as a fuck you to Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't want to do a sequel. And they're like, we'll give you a shitload of money. He's like, okay, but I get to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is saying fuck you.
Yeah.
He's all the people online that like were like, I love the Joker and I'm the Joker and r/Joker and all those fucking people. He was like, I'm making a movie that says fuck you.
Do you know
you're not the Joker?
I feel like there's certain cultural trends that I kind of just like am not interested in, and so I don't look into. So I never looked into that shit. I don't know anything about that.
It's funny. I never looked into the Joker stuff.
Yeah.
And r/Joker started getting recommended to me after this came out. Because I heard something about the movie and I really didn't care about spoilers. And I Googled it. And I saw it. And then r/Joker is constantly recommended to me on Reddit now.
Yeah.
And I've looked through and I've seen a general consensus. But
yeah,
it's like he made it as a fuck you to people that like the first one.
Yeah.
Because he didn't agree with a lot of them politically. He made it as a fuck you to Warner Brothers. And he made it as a fuck you to Batman fans. Who like, oh, we want to see Batman and the Joker fight. Oh, you do? You want to see Batman? Fuck you. He's not even mentioned. The Waynes aren't mentioned once.
Yeah.
And he made it as a fuck you to Christopher Nolan because the end of this movie was the original end to his Joker movie, which got cut.
I'll say this. I respect your opinion.
Yeah.
You're a popcorn kernel. You earned your ranks. I don't think that he went in that much of a direction for some of that. I don't think, I'll put it this way. Like Christopher Nolan famously said, like, I don't want to have someone carving their face as in a
Yeah.
Joker movie at the end as a conclusion. I don't think Todd Phillips said it as he did it as a fuck you. I think it was more like, well, this is what I want for my movie and you're not going to interfere.
Well,
and that's it.
Well, Nolan left Warner Brothers.
Before this, right?
Nolan left Warner Brothers after Joker 2 and before this. He's at Universal now, I believe.
Yeah. So I think when he didn't have to worry about that, he was just like, I'm going to do what I want. Why would I let another director tell me what to do?
But that's what I mean. That's kind of like,
it's not really a fuck you. It's more like, it's almost like he's like,
well, fuck you. I won't do what you tell me. He's raging against the machine.
Yeah. Well, I think he's almost like, well, you're giving me a fuck you, so I'm going to do what I want.
Oh, I don't have a problem with any of it.
And I think that, in other words, I guess, I think he came up with that concept in the first place, not as a fuck you to Nolan. I think that was just his idea.
Oh, no. I think originally it was. Yeah. But I think putting it into this one now,
I think he's just saying, part of it. Now I get to do it.
But I think the movie just has such a like, fuck you vibe all around. You want a Joker sequel about, you want a Taxi Driver, you wanted that? It's a fucking musical.
You know what's weird?
You know, it's
weird. Like, let's say me and you and our buddies that care about film, we're making this. I can see us making the first one and then going with the second one. Man, like, it was so successful. The studio wants us to make a sequel, but we don't really feel like that movie should be sequelized. So let's go big and go crazy with it. I can see us doing that without the fuck you attitude. I think
you can, but what if your stance is, I don't want to do this and this shouldn't happen? And they're like, well, we'll give you a shitload of money.
I guess we'll never really know. So you might be right. I think there's a world in which he's like, if we are going to do this, let's make it really original. Like Colin Trevorrow was given the reins on Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And he said in interviews afterwards, I didn't think anyone should be making a Jurassic Park 4.
And that's what Jurassic World is about, which is why it's great.
But I don't think it's a fuck you. I just think he's like, let's turn it into a thing. And I think that it's possible that Todd Phillips did the same thing.
But I think he went in such a direction that he had to know you're making a movie. The Joker movie was primarily a male audience.
Yes.
And you're making a movie that's a fucking musical.
Yes.
And then the character that so many people see themselves in is put down and taken advantage of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Gang raped, killed in the end. And, you know, you also got to remember, Todd Phillips is a punk guy. He got his start with G.G. Allin documentaries.
Hated.
That's
the name of it, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Yeah.
That was the name of it. But it's like, so I do think it's within his sensibilities to release something purposely as like a fuck you. It is a punk move.
He's become G.G. Allin, is what you're saying.
And he's smearing shit on the audience.
I was just going to say. You ever see when G.G. Allin broke all his own teeth with the microphone?
No.
G.G. Allin, whatever. It's very weird. G.G. Allin was the weirdest thing ever. I don't understand why people like him. You know what I mean?
It's the freak show effect.
Oh, you know what? I think we were talking too about, you were going to tell me about the Joker Reddit thing. I don't know about it.
Okay, so r/Joker is people that just want to talk about Joker. And like, you know, you have a lot of incel style people that saw themselves in the Joker.
Yeah.
And Todd Phillips was like, this is what I was saying. Okay. You see yourself as the fucking Joker. Like, you think you're like going to be cool. You're going to be running the roost. You're like a revolutionary. You're smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
You're a badass. It's like, no, you're a little mentally ill dweeb that's going to be ripped apart by fucking a woman. She's going to play you for a sap.
Yeah.
Society's going to win in the end and crush you.
Yeah.
You're not going to have any respect from anybody. You're going to get butt fucked and raped in jail by guards. And you're going to be killed in the end. That I feel like that's what he's saying to those people.
What's difficult for me, and I have this disconnect from people in terms of seeing movies, where it just feels like when I look at movies, I look at them from the standpoint of directing. And so I'm thinking about this as an orchestrated story, right? So to me, you know, we talked about the idea that Joker 1 is a rising action and Joker 2 is a falling action.
Well, it's a fall story, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's weird because, like, you know, we've talked about this before. I don't remember exactly where we align and don't align on this, but like, I don't have a lot of personal feelings about, I can't believe Luke Skywalker doesn't want to be a Jedi. I don't care. If that makes for a good story, great. I can't believe Indiana Jones, blah, 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 blah. I can't believe it. I'm like, I don't care. If 20 years go by and you want to take a character in a direction to tell a great story, if they make a new James Bond in 20 years
Careful.
and Daniel Craig is paralyzed and in a wheelchair, like you would shit on your own ball sack.
Well,
and I wouldn't give a fuck.
Well, my head would be scratching. I'd be like, okay. So the last time I saw Daniel Craig as Bond,
A lot of stuff has happened in 20 years.
but he's blown up by missiles and eviscerated.
Is he?
They kill him off in the last Bond movie.
Okay, he's fine.
I would-
well, not fine.
I would just be like,
Well, let's say it's not exactly like he gets blown up in the last one. I didn't see the most recent one. But like, if they just were like, let's say it ended after, what's the one before that? Spectre?
Spectre, yeah.
Let's say it ended after Spectre. And then 20 years from now, they're like, James Bond is paralyzed. And we're going to tell a James Bond movie with Daniel Craig as an elderly, paralyzed James Bond. I'd be like, I wonder what they're going to do with this.
Oh,
But there's a certain segment of the audience that is like, you can't paralyze James Bond.
I would definitely watch it, but I would also be like, I don't want this.
I literally care so much more about the story that they tell, that those initial settings of like, guess where we are. Han Solo is fucking bummed. Luke Skywalker stinks. This guy sucks. This person's here. This person's here. I am like, okay, cool. Where are they going to go with this?
See,
that's how I feel.
So this is why I don't like that, and I'll be the counter, because I think you're operating when you're doing a story like that, right? Like when you're messing with a big IP.
Yeah.
My belief is that, and look, this is all fake bullshit, so none of it really matters.
Yeah.
But my belief is that you're getting a set of rules, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting a set of parameters, and you're continuing the legacy and stories of these things that people care about.
Yes.
And I personally believe you have a duty to continue plot threads that were previously left behind in a respectful fashion. And you could take it new places and do new things, but I think your starting point needs to be respectful of where it came from. And if you want to do something so weird like a super spy who's paralyzed, I think you could do that story and make it fucking cool and however you want to do it. But I don't think it needs to be James Bond. I think you're doing that almost, it's lazy. Because you want to tell your story, but you don't want to make a new character and you're like, oh, I'll just slap James Bond on it. That's how I feel.
It can be lazy. It's one of those things. But here's the thing. It's one of those, like the Colin Trevorrow thing, where it's like, well, the studio gives me James Bond. We want you to make this. We're going to give you the most money of your career. This is the highest profile gig. It's a bad career move to just say no to this. So now you're stuck and you have to do this. If they're like, I want Luke Skywalker to not want to be a Jedi anymore. I want him to have given up. I want this person to this. I'm fine with that. And I want to see where you take it. I'm not saying it's always going to go in a great direction because you did something crazy. It's hard for me to relate with Indiana Jones shouldn't be doing this. Dr. Alan Grant shouldn't be doing. I don't feel like that at all.
So I definitely feel that way where I'm like,
because I know you have the thing where you're like the Marvel heroes of like, phase 3 were like basically supplemented by these side characters that sometimes save the day.
Well,
and I'm like, I don't give a shit.
I love simple things. I love 3-act structures.
Yeah.
And I love a hero's journey.
Yeah.
Simple. And I think I'm watching a movie. If I'm going to see your movie called Ant-Man or Shang-Chi or whatever it is, I'm giving you my money because I want to watch that character become a hero and save the day.
Yeah.
It's a superhero movie. I understand the concept here. We all know what we're getting into. I don't want to watch someone else undercut him and be the real hero. It's because it's like, so why did you market this as that? You lied to me. Why didn't you call this The Adventures of Katie and Shang-Chi? It's like, oh, well, Katie's the real hero and Shang-Chi is also in this.
Well, it's tough because I do think that a lot of times, let's use Shang-Chi as an example. Is Katie the actual girl's name? Aquafina? Yeah. Okay. So I'm
pretty sure.
I didn't really like Shang-Chi that much. I was really excited when they did the bus fight in the beginning.
I love the first half of the movie.
I thought that they were going to be like I thought Marvel was going to be like, we're going to give this to auteurs and we're going to take things in different directions. And you know what? We're going to bring back the Jackie Chan style of fighting and we're going to make movies like that. And a Marvel it. Fucking awesome.
I was
awesome
so
formula. I don't like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I'm dancing on pine
everything
leaves.
in the movie when they get to magical bullshit land.
Yeah.
In a movie completely falls apart.
Yeah, but I don't care if the dragon that's going to kill the world is stopped by Katie while Shang-Chi has a personal fight with his dad. I don't care. We're with Shang-Chi the whole time. It makes sense to Shang-Chi. I get that you do, and I'm not saying that one of us is right, one of us is wrong, but I don't care. And here's what's hard for me to tell the difference of. Joker 1 rising, Joker 2 falling. To me, I'm like, isn't Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back that?
It is, but it's also like it's set up. Empire ends in a way where it's like, okay, there's going to be another one.
Yeah, Return. Yeah.
And it's also that the tone is not so drastically different.
For sure. The musical element changes things. And by the way, there are some people out there who are like, I was blindsided by the fact it was a musical. Those people are idiots.
It was said for months.
1,000 times. Even before there were
development,
trailers.
yeah.
Before there were trailers.
Joker 2 is a musical.
They were like advertising. I do think that the marketing team behind this and DC and Warner, everybody, Todd Phillips, Lady Gaga, Joaquin, everyone was like, let's make sure this is clear so no one's blindsided by this. And I think that they did do that.
I thought they did everything they could. Yeah.
Me too. So if your takeaway from this movie is I didn't like it, why was there musical stuff? I was surprised. You're a very strange person. I don't know how you even got into the theater. I don't even know how you knew this movie existed without knowing it was a musical before you went to go see it. But so anyway, the idea that, like we said, full spoilers, that at the end he dies, I think I don't have any problem with that.
I don't care.
The idea that another inmate kills him and that may be the actual Joker, I think that's cool and interesting.
I don't care.
I think when he says at the end, I'm not the Joker, I'm just Arthur Fleck, I didn't have a split personality, I think that's an interesting way to go too. I think all that stuff was great. I think even Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn not being interested anymore when he makes that confession.
And she's using him,
is great. That's cool. What a good story.
And again, going with my middle finger theme.
Yeah.
Isn't it a very Joker thing, right? If Joker was a filmmaker, let's say, right?
Yeah.
For Joker to make a movie called Joker, 2 movies called Joker 1 and basically Joker 2. And at the end of it, it never really was about the Joker, and Joker shows up and kills him in the end. Isn't that like a Joker fucking move?
Yes.
It's like, again, this movie is punk.
Yes.
He took his G.G. Allen punk sensibilities.
You're right.
And that's what he gave you. I love this movie.
You've pulled me way more into your direction of this movie is punk. That's the Joker. This is what it stands for. We're pulling the rug out from under the audience as a big part of the story.
He's pulling the rug out from fucking everybody. It's like Warner Brothers gave him $200 million. And what does he fucking open it with as a flex? A 5-minute fucking old school animated cartoon.
That was awesome.
It's like, and I loved it. And it's like every step of the way and every decision he could make, it's like, what would please the studio and audience more? And he goes the opposite way.
Except for people like me and you.
I'm talking about,
because
obviously, if you look at the numbers and the reaction, we are not in the general. Which,
you're right. You're right. But I will say, we're talking about Todd Phillips, who is a very legitimate director. He's obviously a student of film. He's done a ton of different things in successful ways. And the people, I mean, really, me and you are the only ones I know. And Walt, I guess. Jimmy liked it?
Jimmy loved it.
So Jimmy, Walt, me and you, like, we go in and we're like, no, this is a cool move. And like, it's weird because it's like, as much as
I'll tell you this too. I believe in 10 years we'll be vindicated.
Yeah.
And this will be heralded as a classic.
Me too. I agree with that.
I think age is going to be very kind to this movie.
I completely agree. But I was going to say, I do think if it was just a fuck you, and this is just me putting it out there, I don't know if all that stuff would be executed at such a high degree, because all the musical stuff was fucking awesome.
Well, I think it's like, look, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to do this in the most beautiful, artistic way that it could possibly be done. With the musical numbers, it's going to be technically proficient.
Yeah.
Where it's like, say what you want about the story. I think it's hard to deny the technical validity of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it this way. And you are not, the audience is not going to like it because I'm not giving you what you want. You're not going to see the Joker kill a single fucking person.
Yeah.
He's never going to have a victorious moment.
Yeah.
He is going to be beat down from start to finish.
Yeah.
Now, my one minor character gripe with the movie
Yeah.
is kind of the opening, because
I will say just real quick,
yeah,
I don't agree that every moment he's beat down. It seems like he does have like a rising feel in this where people are behind him. And going up to the last day of the trial, I didn't think like he's losing this trial, everything's going bad for him. I thought things were going pretty well for him.
oh, see, I felt the opposite.
But the crowd was so into him. And I think that even story-wise, before he says, "No, I'm Arthur Fleck," that's where the crowd drops. So to even get there, you need the crowd to be behind him.
Well, he starts gaining a little momentum, and then it's immediately undercut in the next scene.
I think he gains a lot of momentum, even when the original lawyer is there.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. He does have some victories
Because there's people outside, and they're like, and she says, Lady Gaga says to the lawyer, "Don't you see those people out there that care about him?" Like all that stuff is permeating the film.
But I think overall he definitely is taken advantage of, and he definitely doesn't win in the end.
Well, it's interesting. The scene that sticks out to me as part of the struggle between what we're talking about, whether or not he's on top during the movie or on the bottom, is when he gets a cigarette from the policeman and he goes to thank him and he gives him a pat on the back and the policeman slaps him in the back of the head wicked hard, which I thought was awesome. Like that was a real what's going on. That was a real like shaky ground situation for the movie.
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So the Joker one ends, Joker wins, right? Like society is burning down. There's chaos everywhere. The Waynes are fucking dead.
Yeah.
And he's smoking in prison, and the social worker is like, tell me. And he's like, you wouldn't fucking get it.
Yeah.
You're a normie. I'm a weird incel. You're not going to understand my sensibilities. I'm smoking cool now. I'm the Joker.
Yeah.
I've won.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Movie ends. He's triumphant. Movie 2 begins. That victorious Joker is done.
Yeah.
He's not carrying that personality through. So right away, for an audience that wants to see the continuation, it's like, he's not Joker anymore. He's back to being weird Arthur Fleck. It's my one kind of gripe with the movie, because I think he should still be on top at the start of the movie and still be in the Joker persona as it's beaten down. Because in this one, it's almost like, so he's beaten down. He's forced to kiss men for cigarettes.
Oh, that's true.
It's like he's punked.
Yeah.
Again, he's punked in the beginning. He's the guard's like plaything. Tell us a joke, all this. And he's kind of quiet. What kind of starts bringing him back is seeing Harley Quinn and having this like love interest kind of reinvigorates him and gives him new life and, new momentum. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of what's spurring him on. And, he's regaining his Joker confidence, and she's coming into him in the room and like she's fucking him. Again, they make a Joker a 3-pump chump.
Well, that's movies.
I know it's movies, but I do think that it's like this girl is coming in and banging him, and he's like, I'm going to assume Arthur Fleck's a virgin. I don't think he ever got laid before that. I'm just saying.
I think that was movie lovemaking.
Maybe, but it was so quick, and it almost felt like.
I think that here's what though. You needed Harley Quinn's in his cell. They begin to have sex, and he has an orgasm because she's pregnant later. So to do
is she pregnant later?
I know, but you need that moment.
I understand.
So doing all that, I don't think they try to make him like a 3-pump chump. I think it's just filmmaking to do all those things in one scene. That's how it's going to come across.
See, I think that it's, I honestly believe it was like another, like, I don't think it was a major thing, and most people probably didn't know this, but I took it like, because every step of the way, my thought process of the entire movie is he is so pathetic.
Yeah.
Every step of the way, I'm like, what a pathetic fucking dude. It's like, if you met this guy in real life, you would be like, get away from me. You're a fucking loser. That's what most people would say.
Okay.
And it's like,
yeah, okay.
And it's like, okay, so he's getting laid by a chick way too attractive for him.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to come in like 3 seconds, 3 pumps. Yeah. Okay. And again, it's like another little thing for you to laugh at. And it's so obvious she's playing him to everybody watching the movie.
Yeah.
And then the lawyer spells it out, and this fucking sap is still not getting it. And as an audience member, you're like, you're a fucking dummy. And she's like, the lawyer goes, we're going to win the case. Like, this is a lock. And he's like, I'm going to represent myself.
Well, what's weird is like, you know, at the end he says the thing. It's like a revelation when he says there's not, you know, two personalities. I'm just Arthur Fleck. It's weird that is such a moment of defeat for people because, and just, you know, walk with me down this path for a minute. Isn't that kind of just saying that he's like powerful enough as himself to do all the things that he did? Because he did kill those people.
He was only capable of doing it and having that confidence and bravado when he was the Joker. With the persona he's crafted for himself. I'll be honest. I'll tell you a thing right now. So I've never really had confidence my whole life. And, you know, I was never like a full-blown incel because I've had girlfriends and stuff, but I had a period where I didn't have any dates, didn't have fucking anything.
Yeah.
And I created my own flip persona called V2, Brian V2.
I had no idea about this.
So I'm like 20 years old. Yeah, V2.
Yeah.
I've spoken about him before. V2 was my polar opposite. You've seen the Seinfeld episode, The Opposite?
Yeah.
That's what V2 did, where I was loud, obnoxious, and super self-confident to an absurd degree to gas myself up. And I would start proclaiming that I was God. That's how much I took it in that direction. I would constantly say, I am God.
Yeah.
And it fucking worked.
Sure. I think
and it's like the power of your mind.
I agree.
Almost. And when he does that Joker persona, that's his V2.
Yeah, I did a thing like that as well. Where after I had a breakup one time, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be back single again. I want to date and stuff like that. I changed my walk. I did a lot of things that were like very, very conscious and on purpose. Not to the degree of like that, but basically like, no, I got to do this. I'm going to have to do this. Here's my instinct. That's not the right thing to do on paper. So I'm going to do whatever I think is the right thing to do, even though that doesn't feel natural to me. Same thing. It's very similar.
Yeah. And I think it's like, you have to kind of do that. So I think Joker is his confident persona lashing out at society. Yeah. And after he's gang raped by the guards. Yeah. Where I know, do you think he was gang raped now? Have you come around on it?
So basically there's this thing where it's like at one point
it's not clear. After
they represent, it's weird because like if you back up from that, why do they do it? He says a specific thing about them. Why do they do it?
They're fat and lazy and stupid, right?
They're just fat and like, I think it's just fat.
I think he said
says those fat guards or something like that.
I think he says lazy, right?
Maybe
something like
lazy.
That.
Sure. Let's say it's fat and lazy. That's a weird reason for them to do this.
Well, they want to establish dominance in the prison,
I guess. But anyway, so they take him, and this is why it's hard for me. He's dressed up in this insane suit that he's representing himself.
He's in the Joker outfit,
and he has the makeup on, right? So in the movie, he's representing himself. On TV, he says the guards at this jail are fat and maybe lazy. When he gets back, they take him, and it's basically they're going to show him what's what. They take him into a bathroom, they throw him in the ground, and they say, "Get those rags off."
Before that, you're missing a line.
No, they don't say the underwear.
No. Hold on. Before that, Joker says a line.
Oh, you're right.
Joker looks at them and says, "Jackie, I think is the guy's name. Jackie, aren't you going to buy me dinner first?" And then they go, get those rags off of him, and they throw him behind a barricade where we can't see as the audience.
Yes, and here's the thing. So they say get those rags off him after he's wearing this insane suit to represent himself on television and build himself up. Then they throw him in a cell in his like hole, and they do a slow push on him, and he's kind of broken. And outside the cell, you hear them kill his friend. And both the perhaps rape and killing of the friend are both really underplayed. They're both like you missed the line where the friend died.
I missed the friend dying.
You missed the friend dying, and I didn't see the rape thing, and I was like, it's hard for me to be like
some people aren't seeing the rape and others are. So my mother saw it, and I called her after. I was like, "Can I ask you a question?"
Yeah.
I was like,
"What do you think happened to the Joker?"
I was like, "Tell me like what happened in the movie." And she's like, "Okay." I was like, "What happens when he gets back from like the law thing?" She was like, "Oh, the guards raped him." I was like, I was like, "Okay."
It's crazy because
it's like a Rorschach with how fucked up you are. So go, Mom.
Well, I was gonna say like we don't know because Rupert and I have talked about this. We don't know if maybe in 2024 it's more of a sensitive thing. So that's why it was so underplayed. And they were like, oh, this is enough to get the message across. Or if it's supposed to be ambiguous.
I wonder if anyone has asked Todd Phillips.
I'm wondering that too. And here's the thing, like, he still has most of his clothes on when they pull him back.
Well,
and
he has just his underwear, I believe, right?
He has a coat on.
He has his coat, and I think it's his briefs.
Maybe, yeah. And so, like, the question is, like, did the friend dying affect him? Did this other thing affect him? Did they both affect him? What is happening in this part? And this is a big part of it where you look at this as that's where they're like, we're going to break you. We broke you. The Joker gives up. And then the movie is just like a tragic downfall for the rest of the movie where he's eventually killed by some other inmate. And I do think like there is a moment there where he's broken, or it's so difficult.
You definitely have to think he's broken because it's how he's broken. Was he raped or was it the friend?
Well, here's what's weird. If you were telling the story of he's going into court, they're going to take this defense that he has split personality and he's in on it and this is going to break him and he's going to come clean. They didn't do that. Before this part in the movie, he never says he has a split personality. He never says that Arthur Fleck and him are two different people. He never says, I don't remember doing that. Nothing that the lawyer is trying to get the court to agree to. He doesn't buy into any of it verbally at all, ever in the movie. So at the end, when he says there's not two personalities, it's just me, Arthur Fleck, it doesn't feel like he's betraying something that he already established. Isn't that weird? Like I'm not saying like I want to take a side, but don't you think if they were trying to make that clear that earlier in the movie, he should have been playing into that more?
Well, I think it's like, again, I'm of the mindset the whole movie is a fuck you to people. So, so part of my mindset with that is, and again, this is my thing with the rape scene. I think if you really wanted to drive home the fuck you to people, maybe he was not allowed. I would have made it like 10 minutes long and uncomfortable and brutal. And like Deliverance is, if it is a rape scene, right?
Yeah.
Deliverance goes harder, and that's from 1972.
Well, that's the thing is like, I think that back then you might be able to do that.
Yeah, I get it.
And also like, think about where, as much as Joker is like a gritty R-rated whatever, think about the impact of the first one and the type of audiences that are coming out. Does Warner Brothers, are they cool with putting that in this movie?
Well, that's why it's probably implied.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe, I don't know.
But again, your question of the Joker persona, right? So we see it built up and he finds his confidence with Lady Gaga and it's getting him like, the love of a woman and all this stuff. And he's like revving up society and he's standing for something. And like, he has that moment with the little person, his little friend from the first movie. And the guy's like, I'm all fucked up now. Like, you ruined my life by murdering someone in front of me.
I love that part.
Like, I've never felt so helpless. It's like, you're a piece of shit, dude.
I loved that part. And I loved when he kept talking about how much he hurt him. And the Joker was like, enough. Like, he was like, basically, I don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought that was awesome. Well, here's the thing is like I said, when I go to a movie, I don't align with these characters as much as all these other people. I like the whole Daniel Craig paralyzed thing. Like, when I look at it, I'm not like, fuck yeah, Joker in the first one. Fuck yeah, fuck yeah. I'm just like, it sucks that society treated him this way. It sucks that no one was looking out for him. And it sucks that he kills all these people. And of course he should be in jail. And of course he's a piece of shit. So when he's like in court and that little person is like making him feel really bad, I'm like, good. That's how I feel.
Let me ask you a question.
Do you think the audience is not feeling that though?
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you're watching the movie, right? Are you hoping that Joker is found guilty and he spends life in prison? Or are you hoping that he's found insane? Or is he innocent? Like, what is the outcome?
This is a great question.
What is the outcome you are hoping for?
See, this is a great question. We're getting to the nitty gritty of the popcorn kernels. And this is why we're together, because we differ on this stuff. I don't care.
You just go on the ride.
I want this. I'll put it this way. If Todd Phillips and the writers are like, well, if he gets off free, here's the arc, here's where it goes, blah, blah, blah. If he goes back to jail, Here's where he goes, whichever story is better is the one I want for the movie.
So you never think like, so if you're watching a sports movie, right?
Well, that's different.
Well, you're rooting for an outcome, right?
But this guy's a villain, and he's also in this weird world that's affected. I feel like, I'll put it this way, in a sports movie, and I use this word lightly, you're emotionally manipulated to be rooting for something.
Well, yeah.
I don't think in the Joker movies you are rooting for somebody.
But what I'm saying is there's people that are.
I think those people are delusional.
But I do think...
Well, I'm gonna out you here in front of everybody. When Ruppert watches the Planet of the Apes movies,
I'll say it. Yeah,
he roots for the humans no matter what they do to those poor apes.
Humans, yeah.
No matter what they do to the apes.
I'm team human.
Can I ask you a real question?
Yeah.
I'm being honest with this. Is there anything a human could do in those movies where you wouldn't root for them?
On an individual level.
Ah.
So we're talking about...
So in other words, the reason I bring this up is because in the Planet of the Apes movies, the new ones, the last 4, the humans are generally portrayed as the bad guys, although it is kind of ambiguous. Some of them are good. Gary Oldman's good. A couple of them are good.
It depends.
But there's a lot of bad ones. Ruppert still roots for the humans regardless of if they're kind of on the good side or bad side because he is a human.
Yes. So
I think that's bananas.
Well, here's
I think you should be committed.
Well, here's how I look at it, right?
I think you should be thrown in the hole. You should hear someone choke me outside until you're broken.
So when I watch a movie, right,
mm-hmm.
I always find it fun to put myself into that world, right?
Right.
To treat it as if this is the real world, right? And like how I would react.
Yeah.
So my stance, and again, I'm also backed up with the knowledge of all the Apes movies, right?
Yeah.
So like in the third Planet of the Apes movie, right? Zira and Cornelius travel back in time from like the past in the originals. I think it's Escape from the Planet of the Apes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they end up in like 1970, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a baby with them.
Mm-hmm.
They have their baby. Their baby is going to speed up the timeline of apes being sentient and taking over the planet.
Yeah.
Me knowing that as a viewer, I'm like,
someone's going to kill that
someone
baby.
has to stop this because it's going to doom all of civilization. And there's one human helping them. And every time I watch it, I'm like, Ricardo Montalban, you fucking idiot. You're dooming us all. And that's how I approach it. Now,
that's tough. That's tough because the human is helping as opposed to it's tough because you're not saying like, why isn't someone stomping that ape's baby head in? You're like, why is someone helping them?
Look, whatever we got to do to live. If the choice is all of humanity dying and becoming like savages or killing the apes, the apes have to go. You know, it's like if you were in the apes world, right? If you were in the apes world
mm-hmm.
and you know what the heroes know,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You're always gonna go like, I want my family and people to live over these apes. Like, it's like,
I agree. I just think, I never get invested in the way that you and some other people get invested in the characters where I'm like, I want this to happen. I'm not rooting for someone. I mean, if I'm emotionally manipulated, I root for them. You know what I mean? Like if I'm seeing Rudy or something, of course I'm going to have the feelings like, but when I see something like Joker, I'm just like, I just want the best story. Or even like, there's a lot of movies that end tragically. You know what I mean? There's a lot of movies that where the protagonist that you like loses and something bad happens. We just watched Halloween 3. The whole time, I went to a feature of it.
Okay.
And the whole time, Halloween 3 is not with Michael Myers. And there's a character who knows that this company is putting out these masks that are going to eat people's heads. And he's trying to stop it. And he's calling the TV station. He thinks he stopped it. But then it turns out that every other TV station is running the same thing that's going to make the masks eat people's heads. And he essentially, that's a novella movie for sure, which I love. And he loses for sure. And I'm not just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not like that. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's fucking awesome. What a great story. And so that's how I feel about Joker.
No, I think, look, again, I think there's no wrong way with how you engage with art. I do think, though, it's like the people who took it so personally and made it like a part of their personality. Whereas, like, look, Spider-Man, James Bond, Sonic the Hedgehog, I love those characters. Like, if there's a take I don't like, I'm gonna be like, well, I don't like that take, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
move on.
Sure. I get it. I get it. Yeah. So I guess for me, in terms of like the idea of like the ending, what are you hoping will happen? I just want the best story, so I don't really have that in my head.
Okay.
Even when I watch stuff like the Marvel movies that I really
Like
like,
Endgame.
and well,
You had to have you going in. You
But that's
had to be
different.
like, I want this.
that's different because,
I know it's so built up.
well, how about this way? Infinity War. How does that end?
Oh, I didn't want Infinity War to end that way, but I'm glad it did. It fucking made for an amazing sequel.
But even so, when you watched it by itself, you're like, whoa, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying you always have to give the audience what you want, but I always find myself rooting for a particular outcome.
perhaps,
Or I think a certain way where I'm like, why is this character not doing this with their problem? Like,
Yeah,
they could
yeah.
figure it out. But
I somewhat I agree with that, but I also feel like with a lot of projects that are not so good, bad, whatever, like Joker, I'm not like, man, I'm hoping for this. I just want a great story. Like when they said he was guilty and the wall blew up and that people kidnapped him
I
to
hated
save him.
that moment.
Really?
I did not like, but again, I kind of think that moment was almost a fuck you to people too, where it's like, Joker's out now, he's loose. You think he's gonna go crazy? No, he's gonna just wander the streets aimlessly and like go to Lady Gaga and she'd be like, dude, you're a fucking poser.
I love that.
Oh, I love what they did with it. I do think that's when the movie I kind of felt like it was dragging a bit,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, let's
well,
wrap this
they
up.
needed to get him alone with her. And also I like the idea that not only does he give up on the Joker persona, then even when people try to rescue him, he still has given up on it. And then when Lady Gaga is not there, he's really given.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. It's funny. Just real quick, there's a storyline I'm hoping that they bring into the Marvel movies at some point that I love, which has to do with I just thought about this because the 8 baby thing we just talked about.
Okay.
There's a storyline from Uncanny X-Force, and the team at the time is Deadpool, Wolverine.
Is that with Hope?
I don't know.
Hope Summers?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's Deadpool, Wolverine, Psylocke, and Phantom X. Maybe there's one more
Okay.
person.
Is Cable there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And basically, what they've found out is that someone has recreated Apocalypse, and they're like basically duplicating his upbringing to get him to be Apocalypse again. And they're like, we know where he is. He's 8 years old right now. We have to go kill him. And the entire story is them arguing about who's going to kill Apocalypse because no one will do it. No one wants to do it.
Wolverine won't do it?
And they're all saying like,
Deadpool won't do it?
Deadpool says my rule is no kids, blah, 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 whatever he says. And the whole movie, they're going to go there with the group. But the thing that hangs over the whole movie is that all of them are not willing to do this, but they're like, well, we have to go try to do this.
It'd be so funny if they just had a panel of them going, fuck it. And Deadpool flips open a phone. Yo, bullseye.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I'm like,
That's cool though.
I'm like, if they did want to do like another Wolverine Deadpool story and make it like dark and fun and rated R, that's the way to go.
I think that's cool.
I mean, they'll probably replace like Phantom X and whatever.
Yeah, they'll
but
change it
You'll
around.
bring whoever is cool. But anyway, I just thought about that from the thing. I'm like, man, that hasn't really been explored in a movie. The idea of like the right thing to do is to kill this baby. What do we do?
Yeah.
And that's the crux of the movie. That's cool. That's really fun. Sorry, that was a little
No,
tangent, but I
that's
just
fine.
thought about it.
That's cool.
But yeah, so anyway, at the end, like it was all that. Maybe that's why I'm having such a hard time with people who don't like this movie because of the falling
Well,
action
I
of this
think-
character.
yeah.
Because I don't get it.
I think you don't approach it from the same way of those people at all.
Mm-hmm.
Where like
You're right.
they see that their Joker is a surrogate for them.
Yeah.
And he represents them and he represents us and our struggle against society.
Yeah.
And it's like society wins. It beat him down.
Yeah.
The girl left him. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
every step of the way, they're just so beaten down and they see themselves in this character so much
Yeah.
that it's never going to click with those people. And again, people who are like, oh, it's a Joker sequel. He's now Joker from the first one. He's going to fight Batman. Nope. Oh, I like the first one. It was dark and gritty. Yeah, this one's gritty too, but there's also big musical numbers. It's like, it was just a movie that the way it was made could never click with a mainstream audience.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It bums me out because I think that from a filmmaking perspective, not only is it a bold move, but it's a story that's well told and they really did so much cool shit on the way. It's like it's to me, Joker 2 is what you want from a sequel. That's what you want from a sequel to something. It's something that completely, and it's weird because it does.
It's like Gremlins too.
Yeah, it is. And they keep all the elements that made Joker cool. They kept all the stuff in terms of the tone and the characters and the acting, all
I
that stuff.
agree.
But they just added so much to it that I really appreciated it a lot. I don't care. I hope there's a different Joker. I think that's cool. I think the idea that like maybe that was Heath Ledger, which I know it's not.
No, that's
it's
what
not in
they're
canon.
saying it could be.
That's the thing. That's cool. That's fun. And the idea that it's maybe. It's not even like this is, and we definitively tied it. I want it to be ambiguous. That's cool. I like that. I don't know.
I loved it too.
Yeah,
So
it was great. Looney Tunes thing was awesome. Musical numbers were awesome.
Look,
everyone was killer.
If look, maybe you agreed with us, maybe you didn't. Maybe you're team apes. Maybe you're like me, you're team people.
Yeah, yeah. Comment. I want to see
Yeah.
some comments about this shit. Do you feel like you go into these movies with these like this character has to be this, or I want to root for this person, or do you feel like
you're
you're
just open and you're along
just like
for the
I just
ride?
want to see a good story. I don't care what happens to these characters. It is an interesting debate. It's something I haven't heard people really talk about.
No, not really. I think it's almost like kind of take it for granted with people do away because it's like, I'm going to see this. It must be this,
Yes,
It's like,
yes, exactly.
It's like,
well, it's funny. I guess it's one of those things that's kind of a little bit of a symptom of the culture now, where so much of the stuff that we see, we're like, I already know a lot about this. So let's see what they incorporate it and if they stick to my predetermined feelings and where
like,
this should
wouldn't it
go.
have been weird, like, if Beetlejuice 2 is like a slasher and Beetlejuice is killing people? Wouldn't it that like, and it's like gory? Like, wouldn't that just be fucking weird? It'd be like,
it would be weird, but there's something else to it that is like I guess the reason that I think that Joker flies with the musical stuff is because it felt like
well, it's all fantastical. It's in his head.
there's that, and also at least half the movie, if not 75% of the movie, had the same DNA as the first movie.
Yeah.
So it's not like they abandoned that and did something instead. It's like they took it's like they said, here's the first movie, half of it's going to be a brand new thing where we go deeper into his psychosis. So if they figured out a way to make it make sense, that's cool. And they already did a thing in the first one where he is kind of having like a magical love story with someone that you find out is not true.
Yeah, at the end.
So this is like a big build on that,
I see that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the last movie.
Yeah.
The Substance.
The Substance.
Not Substance.
And so you were like, Demi Moore's in this, like we said in the beginning. She's 50. They're going to replace her. And you want to explain how they replace her or what they do?
She finds out about this weird product.
Yeah, she goes to the doctor and a nurse says, yeah, you're the perfect candidate. And she goes, what'd you say? And he goes, you've been the perfect patient.
Yes.
And then she finds in her purse that he left a note in a USB stick.
Yeah. And it's like, play me. And she puts it in. And basically it's like, we're a medical procedure where we're going to extract from you a duplicate of you that's younger and better. The catch is every 7 days, one of you must sleep while the other one lives. And like you kind of hook each other up to this like food source and you live while the other one is old. And
they don't even really tell you exactly how that's going to go. They just kind of say it in very vague terms. So you're kind of like, you're like, in my head, when I was watching, I was like, is there going to be a clone of her? Is she going to turn into this? Like, what is this? In the movie, it's a little ambiguous of how it's going to work at first.
And they end up deciding, well, she does it and it's brutal. And Margaret Qualley comes out of her back.
Yeah.
And she's all hot and naked.
Oh, yeah.
And Demi Moore is hot and naked too.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of nudity and ass shots in this.
Yeah.
Like, it's pervy.
Oh,
and I love it.
This movie is incredibly pervy. But I think from the perspective of like, this is what people, especially like women, are examining about themselves as they age and the type of insecurities that they have versus comparing themselves to someone else. That's kind of the parable of the movie, is the comparison that Demi Moore has to her younger self. And then the story continues.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, of course, and like, as soon as this happened, I was like, I think I know where this is going to go. What happens is, the younger self comes in. Since Demi Moore was let go as this fitness instructor on television every morning and they're opening up to new people, she goes and tries out as her younger self and she gets the gig. And it's like way more sexy, way hotter, all this stuff. And so she's still kind of on top. And so that's, you'd think that she's fulfilled, obviously. And then it's like, hey, listen, don't forget, only 7 days as this other person. And I think she goes over by a few hours as her younger self. And when she wakes up as Demi Moore, her finger is aged to like the point where she's like, her finger is like a 95-year-old finger. And she's looking at it and she's flipping out, and she calls them and she's like, hey, there was a mistake. She went over by a little bit, and they keep reminding her. He's like, don't think of yourself as it's both of you together. You're one person.
Yeah.
And he's
you
like,
can end this at any time.
He's like, what has been taken away cannot be given back. Meaning like your finger is going to stay that way. And of course, that's kind of like a hint of where this movie's going. And they say you can stop if you want. And she's like, no, it's okay. And she kind of decides to continue. And then
Margaret Qualley like puts her to bed and just keeps her asleep for a long period of time,
like months, it seems like, or at least weeks. It's
a long time.
Yeah.
And when she eventually has to go back to sleep, she lets Demi Moore wake up, and Demi Moore is now like an old hag.
Yeah, oh yeah. At first, there's one part where she's like half an old hag, her face. And they keep doing this thing where they have to basically extract fluid from her spine, and the wound that she has to keep injecting into gets more and more disgusting and decrepit. That's where I was like,
yeah, you were like cringing next to me.
I couldn't take it. My nutsack felt like it was going to fall off. It's still recording.
It says top left.
6 minutes.
Okay. So
yeah. So that part, that disgusted me. I couldn't take it. And then eventually the girl takes over. She has this big New Year's Eve gig. It's all leading up to this. She's taken over for a long time.
And she kills Demi Moore, and she's like, fuck it. Like, I just got to get to this gig. And, and as she's at the gig, she starts falling apart, and she's like, fuck it. I'm going to split myself.
Yes.
And she splits herself, and it's like this monstrous amalgamation.
Well, I think what happens is, the old Demi Moore, that's like a disgusting goblin, that's like wicked disgusting, is like, I'm gonna kill the young self, so this can't keep happening. And she goes to inject her with the stuff that kills her, the young self, and then she like changes her mind last minute.
Stops. That's right.
And so the young self wakes up, and now there's two of them alive at the same time,
which is the first time it's happened.
Which is awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, and the younger self kills the older self.
Yeah.
And there's like poignant moments where it's like Demi Moore, who's now an old crone, is looking at her 50-year-old version, and it's like,
look how beautiful I was when I was 50.
Beautiful at 50, and now I look like this.
Yeah,
and
that's the parable part.
That's the whole point of the movie.
Where look how beautiful she was before she was trying to make herself even more beautiful.
And she couldn't appreciate it.
She couldn't appreciate that. Yeah, exactly.
And now she looks like a fucking monster.
Yeah.
And then by the end, she's a literal fucking monster.
She's so disgusting. And where did that monster come from? I can't remember. Did she do it again?
Margaret Qualley split herself because she was falling apart.
She tried to do it again. She basically took the substance stuff that originally...
The young one, yeah.
The originally one that Demi Moore gave herself. And it says, single use, don't use again. Yeah. And she tries to split herself again into a younger one to see if that'll save her. And she just comes out as a fucking goblin monster. She tries to put the dress on. She staples Demi Moore's a picture of her face to her own face.
Yes.
And she goes to the award show that she's supposed to have this big night. They let her in, which is hilarious.
And she shows up on national TV.
And she's this disgusting monster. And then she just like screams. She can't even talk.
Yeah.
She's just like falling apart. And the blood and gore is just like ramped up. And when you think it's at 11,
it gets more and more crazy.
It goes higher and higher and higher. And me and Ruppert were flipping out in that fucking theater.
We're going apeshit.
We're like on our backs, kicking our legs in the air. The popcorn's flying everywhere. It was crazy. We were losing it. And it was just so well done. The story was awesome. And then the visuals were just like,
it's a beautiful looking movie. It's awesomely directed.
Awesome.
It's a gorehound delight.
It's crazy.
It has a good message. The acting's great. It's sexy. It's like, look, I don't see many sexy movies anymore. It's like,
yeah.
It's like seeing this was such a fucking treat, man.
It was so bold. And it's cool. It felt like I said, it felt like a 70s horror movie because it was self-contained, had a message, had a parable, knocked it out of the park, and did something you never saw before. It felt brand new, for sure. I've never seen anything like this. It was awesome.
I agree.
So if you're a horror guy or a horror gal, go see it. It's fucking
check it
awesome.
out. Can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, that was great.
But that's it for Popcorn Kernels. Do you want to plug your...
My show one more time?
Yeah.
Sunday, October 20th, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, the Funbearable Halloween Spooktacular live comedy Halloween podcast. go buy tickets at funbearablepod.com. If you're in the New England area, come on out to Rhode Island. And I'd say See Trap. What was the second one? Beetlejuice, whatever.
Yeah.
If you want to see, if you like Beetlejuice, see Beetlejuice. But definitely see Joker. I love Joker, and Substance was awesome. Substance was probably my favorite out of all of them.
All right, you're
Chuck Staton.
I'm Brian Ruppert. We're the Popcorn Curls, and you are dismissed. I like that.
Good stuff, man.